Hello there. I believe we've got some Overwatch for you today here at the Atlas Gaming Network. Should have, well, some entertaining games for you today. We've got, I believe, Imperium playing against Timeless Obsidian here. Oh no, Citrus versus Timeless
Citrus.
Obsidian. Yes, there we go. Got there in the end. And these are two teams with more than a couple notable players. Of course, Timeless Obsidian, they were the ones who won the NA dive party, and Citrus, well, they've got a couple of NA contenders players smattered in the roster. So I'm really, really excited for this one. Willowtron, how are you today?
I mean, I'm good. I'm excited too. I'm familiar with, if not both of these teams directly, a significant number of the players on these teams. Timeless Obsidian I got to cast for relatively recently, and Citrus. I'm familiar with Z-Man on their teams, so for me this is a meeting of two teams that I've developed a bit of a friendly banter, rapport, hate relationship with their support players. So I'm excited because they're going to be roasting me in match chat. I'm going to be roasting them on stream, and that's how we like to do it here. Especially considering, obviously, you and we have cast together before. However, not perhaps a usual duo for the fact that we are both color casters. Neither of us do play-by-play. So, how are you feeling?
We'll be making up as we go along. Should be a lot of fun. Maybe not as standard, but I mean, at the very least, everyone's going to know what's going on. Everyone's going to know exactly who's winning and why. But mid-fight might be getting a little bit chaotic. Still, I'm looking forward to this. It's not something you get a chance to do very often, so.
No, I mean, I'm honestly, personally quite fond of the double color if you just want to sit down and look at these two teams. I mean, like we mentioned, the rapport of Timeless Obsidian in particular being able to win Dive Party, but also Citrus having contenders and I believe maybe a few NA World Cup players maybe trialed there. Not that they made it to the final roster, but even just being in the trials themselves, a bit of an accolade that one can tout. For me, this is definitely two teams that you could go up and say, well, let's just see what they're doing. Let's see how they're breaking it down. We were talking in the break about Zarya meta and the strength of that extra cooldown. I believe they've mentioned at this point actually they want to bring down the size of the bubble, right?
I think they want to revert the bubble size and HP, but keep the extra
health.
cooldown.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But not yet. Not through at this point. So when we get to see our teams and we get into lobby, we'll maybe be able to break down what these two titans think of that change. But how are you feeling overall? What are you expecting to see?
I mean, at the end of the day, we have seen on the current patch it's going to end up being, Genji, Sojourn, Zarya, Lucio, Baptiste. There's a couple like one-for-one swaps you can end up making, but that's very, very likely what we're going to be seeing from each side. But I think it is quite open air right now. I think it's still early patch, so plenty of options for variety if you really don't want to play, if you want to go into something else.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I've been particularly noted on is the Junker Queen, who has made something of a semi-resurgence. Teams that maybe, I don't know, I feel like no one's uber comfortable with a Zarya in particular. There have been plenty of players who picked up Junker Queen because she was so strong when she was originally introduced, both in the beta, right, and then also as gradually crept up in strength over time again. But Zarya in particular has been one of those heroes that kind of pops up for a couple of weeks and then disappears back into oblivion again, and it is always just kind of fine, right? So I think there's a very decent likelihood for a lot of these teams to just not have a player who is hugely comfortable on the Zarya. of playing into maybe more of an Ana. But you know, I mean, like, if you're playing into the Zarya, Bap, Lucio, your Suzu isn't maybe getting huge value. I mean, unless maybe they got the inside scoop, right? Maybe they're ready for something that we're not ready for. Maybe they're just playing like go fast and hard, double dink everyone, throw in the Moira orb, right? Just a whole team wipe before they have chance to set up. I can see it working, whereas Zarya likes to favor those more prolonged poke areas, try to build up that energy. So maybe the plan is just like don't shock and awe, right? Go as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think we can take a look at Citrus in a hot second, but I do think the difference between the Kiriko and the Baptiste is that when you're playing the Junker Queen specifically, when you have that like little bit of self-heal, then it means that you don't need a little bit less healing. It means your supports can do more damage. And what support would you like to do more damage at close range than Kiriko can just, two-tap most players in the server? Here we see Citrus in. It looks like they're hovering the Illari poke composition. Very curious that Danny looks like they want to play the Illari. Guess they'll have some roll swaps coming through. Getting a DPS player onto the backline, as we've seen a couple teams do, actually, if they do want to get that poke going on. But the Illari Baptiste backline, what do you think of that, Willa?
Well, obviously we can only see 2 of these at a time, whilst I do think that everything should eventually return back to 3 tanks, 3 supports. I don't think we're going to be seeing it quite yet. I don't think we're going to be seeing that today. On the one hand, we've got like the classic shooter, right? The firing squad, Z-Man and Danny covering Baptiste and Illari, but then also the Lucio potential from Funfi. If you're wanting to swap between various iterations of like either a Risa or Junker Queen compositions, right, where you've either got the Genji Sojourn or like a Bastion Torb, Sim Bastion, something like that, like I can kind of see why you'd want to ahead of time be like, yeah, these are the linchpins of our team, right? Either we're going to be playing the Bap Lari or the Bap Lucio. This is what we are structuring ourselves around. But when you put that much weight on what you're doing, you have to really think about how much weight you're putting on your backline and on your support players. And, you know, if it ends up being kind of like a DPS or a tank duel, ultimately, you are putting a lot of weight on them. And I do think supports are incredibly strong. But there are just some things that they can't do that other players really do excel at. So I'm curious to see. I don't know. On the one hand, when you put 3 support players forward, I'm thinking, all right, you've got a little bit of flexibility, but the actual variation in composition we're seeing from those picks isn't huge. So I'm a little curious, I suppose I'll say. I'm curious.
Keeping it subtle now, I guess, with curiosity. But Lijiang Tower are going to be where we start off. I mean, normally you don't see too much Illari on control or Flashpoint now that I think about it, just because of that Lucio speed being so valuable. If you want some early positioning, then Lucio's going to give it to you for free. Illari is tantamount to giving that same thing up, so very likely we don't see her in Danny, likely on to be the DPS. And so probably just going to be what? Mirror Zarya, maybe the Queen we were talking about earlier, who does kind of the same thing.
Okay, this is my crazy thing, right? This is my crazy thing.
I'll let you cook.
The things that Zarya tends to struggle with are like really high burst fights, right? Because like you burn through both of your bubbles, but someone still gets picked anyway. The kinds of heroes that you'd expect to just be doing absolutely insane amounts of damage, but often they get traded off by having to take a long time to sit up in position, all right? Things like your Far Mercy, things like your Bastion. Lijiang Tower in particular is one of those maps where you will see those kinds of compositions come out a lot more frequently. Sim teleports on this map have been, I mean, we've seen teams like London Spitfire really iterating on how that Sim TP can work, but on Lijiang in particular, it's been very familiar and comfortable to a lot of teams for a long time, not just because Sim's good on control, but because on Lijiang in particular. So being able to just go between really high burst damage on maps like Night Market with like either the Far Mercy or the Bastion Sim combo, right? Teleporting up into the window. Then over to Control Center, where it's a lot more enclosed, and maybe you want to run something maybe more brawl heavy. I think there's a lot of potential on Lijiang in particular for us to see iterations on compositions. I mean, I'm looking at Timeless's Bastion, and I'm thinking maybe that's quite scary at this point, right? Maybe that's, especially when you've got the Junker Queen and the Kiriko. Like you said, you just go really fast, go throw in as much damage as you possibly can. I mean, if they both roll out on Zarya, then, you know, happy days. We'll just see which one's better at it. But I'm almost expecting them to be in each other's heads like, okay, they're going to want to win Zarya because she's really strong. We want to run Bastion because lots of damage. Why not do
Ooga
that?
booga.
And then Citrus going to be like, oh well, they're going to want to run Bastion, so we shouldn't run the Zarya. We should run something else. And I think we're going to get into the mind games with these two teams in particular. I think if they both just roll out on, we'll just play Zarya, it'll be the unexpected and potentially most boring iteration of what I think they can put forward.
Probably, yeah. I think Overwatch as a game normally doesn't lend itself to mind games as nearly as much as a lot of other titles. If you've ever watched any Counter-Strike or Valorant, you've often seen just ridiculous situations where people have thought so many steps ahead they've forgotten about what's in front of them. But hopefully that doesn't happen to these two teams in front of us, Timeless Obsidian and Citrus. Well, I mean, as we mentioned, there's plenty of things they could play, but in the end, I do think it will just go into the kind of bread, butter, pretty standard compositions. I think there's a couple spots, and I think Legion Tower especially is a map where you can run a lot of things. It's quite a open map where if you want to come up with something a little bit strange, you want to run like Heavy Brawl, you do have Control Center for that, and it's very little they can do to stop you. And it's also a map where you see lots more fire and lots more Wrecking Ball especially, I think, than a lot of other maps. So I think comps like that, a Zarya comp might also really struggle with, just because it kind of is going to struggle at fighting angles very, very aggressively. Zarya is going to have to stand more or less in main to fight to control the space, and your DPS don't have that much support with a Baptiste.
I think we should probably also acknowledge the horse in the room,
No,
which
please.
is, of course...
No, please. No, please.
Legion
If there is
Tower...
no Orisa, I will sing prayers to the almighty god Jeff Kaplan. No longer with us, but still. But please, no Orisa.
He's not died,
Please, no
he's still
Orisa.
alive.
What do you mean?
Our
He's
Lord in
gone for
heaven.
Overwatch.
Mercy be upon his soul, Jeff Kaplan. No, I mean, I'd not be upset if there was no Orisa here today, but I'd also not be surprised if we did see a little bit of it come out. Looks like we're going to be looking at maybe, I mean, the Symmetra is there, the Bastion's there from Citrus, so it looks like the Zarya has immediately been taken off the table, the mind games have been played. Still waiting to see what Sunny wants to run on the side of Obsidian's tank. I reckon they'll just be going for something relatively though. Sombra Tracer? Are we going to see a Winton? Oh, now that is interesting. I am curious about this one.
We got Winston Brule coming through from Timeless Obsidian. What a way to open this up, and Citrus with the Sim TP. They're giving up a lot of space early, and obviously there's no way for Obsidian to stop the walk coming through from Citrus. This Winston is dropping so low, constantly getting poked out by the Bastion, and Citrus instantly have control of the point.
If I'm Obsidian here, I'm thinking, okay, we need to just back out, swap comps. Like, there's no way. They've lost point control because they were slower to get in compared to the Symmetra. They've not really got an easy plan of attack. They have to play around with Bastion, but the Bastion just gets, like we can see here, Sunny just has to back out every time they try to go in. Manages to break 2 little Sim turrets and then has to leave again. Like, they just... Committing to this is going to burn their candle shorter and shorter, and I don't think they're getting any benefit from it.
I really have to agree with you. I don't see a way that Timeless Obsidian can take a fight that's going to be beneficial for them. In the front line, oh my god, the lovely pin. Derpy hacked up, actually, and forced back, but no kill will be coming through. I mean, that ult discharges so quickly, right? But is it actually getting all that much value? Keith on an off angle, looking to find an isolation. Nothing will happen. The EMP, so early, gets plenty of damage, but the focus fire is not there. Citrus are just living. The sustain coming through from Z-Man on the Baptiste is absurd, and that means the point percentage just keeps ticking up for Citrus.
Z-Man in particular was a player who I'm due to roast and be roasted by, but honestly, we're seeing just how survivable Citrus are with this composition, and like you've mentioned, the Baptiste is so key to making this happen. Hopeful, Dynasty, Cute, Sunny, all making honestly pretty good inroads there. They opened up a lot of space, got a few nice picks, but just weren't able to capitalize on it anyway. They do have the sound barrier coming in, but Citrus now have the ultimates in their own hands to do what they do.
It's worth mentioning that Zeb's Bastion maybe wasn't as textbook as they would have liked, but either way, Unread is down early. Timeless Obsidian again starting off this fight in a rough man, and they're just going to disengage. They have to respect the shatter that they know Derpy's charged up, but instead they're just sitting and choking, getting poked out again and again. Dynasty's down as well, and I mean, as you mentioned, Willow, this comp is not it.
We've felt like we've only had 2 fights, and we're already at 85% on point count. Like, what are you meant to do into this? Even when they found the pick, they weren't able to make any kind of moves off the back of it. Sound barrier and walls traded, but the team's just gonna live. Citrus are finding the picks already. Sunny's down, the Winston's gone, Shadow comes through. Like you mentioned, it was a thing they had to watch out for. Didn't watch out enough. I think they didn't get hit by it because it forces so much space anyway. The rest of Citrus just get absolutely... sorry, the rest of Obsidian just get absolutely mowed down by that full charge Sim beam. And it's going to be immediately, it feels like, Gardens going over to Citrus.
Yeah, I think Citrus, or Tyrant's Obsidian, sorry, when they saw that composition, should have insta-swapped either to like a poke composition. You could run something Orisa-y, something Pharah-y, Wrecking Ball, kind of any of those heroes into some sort of mishmash. And that would be a comp that Citrus would really struggle to deal with. They don't have a massive amount of true poke. You know, you've got the Bastion shift, but other than that, your range damage is pretty low. Or you should have swapped to something that's also a Brawl composition, be it the Junker Queen, be it the Zarya, be it a Mirrored Reinhardt, anything like that could have at least taken the fight mano a mano and given a better chance there. But with the Winston Brawl into the Reinhardt composition, then what you really have to do is harass rotations. But they've got a Symmetra and Bastion set up on the point, they ain't got nowhere to be, so... That's why first will we go over to Citrus, and early on, look at all the damage onto the Reinhardt shield from Hopeful on the Bastion, but no kill found just yet. Well, there's one.
I like that they've decided to mirror this. It's a bit of a shame that Sunny just gets picked up a little early. We've not really seen Sunny play too much Reinhardt in particular, often favouring the Winston, and if there was any off-tanks, we were seeing Molly come in and play those instead. I think maybe a reason why Obsidian have been hesitant about this is we're not seeing Hopeful and Dynasty on their classic heroes. Right, we are not used to seeing Hopeful and Dynasty play either Bastion or Sim. I feel like they're not super comfortable on this. But Keith and Unread, I think, are on very comfortable heroes for themselves. Keith's back, we have seen plenty of. Unread Lucio has always been a force to reckon with. So the support line is really... We were talking about this for Citrus, but the support line is what's the anchor for Obsidian right now.
Mirrored Windows popped and a kill piece found, but Keith going down means there's so little sustain for Tyrant's Obsidian, and Citrus are poised to take this point. Cashier going down is not amazing for the attacking side, but these trades are so chaotic, so back and forth, and Zeb on the point in the turret form and absolutely pumping out damage makes it so awkward for Sunny and Co to try and walk. Attempting to do the same, forcing themselves onto point is Obsidian. The flip comes through, but re-engaging with the wall are Citrus, which means this fight isn't over. Yeah, HP is dropping so low across the board, and it's going to be the Reinhardt who goes down as well as the Bastion. But Citrus, it feels, are winning out these trades more often than not, and finally they will stabilize control.
That felt like a pretty big blunder from the side of Obsidian, to be honest. They managed to take out both Derpy and Cashier, and it was just... no Rein, no Sim, right? No real rotation that you can get for your Baptiste or your Bastion. But instead, Sunny's walking on Flumpy on the Lucio, and the Lucio just bounces away. They're waiting so long. Oh dear, early Shadow there is going to be taking out the enemy Reinhardt. This is not a comfortable look for Obsidian.
I don't think it's a composition that they have a massive amount of practice on by the looks of things. They clearly didn't want to bring it in the mirror on last point, and knowing that you have to play in these close quarters engagements on control, and I think they kind of forced into it. Early windows popped, but the damage boosted fire strike takes care of Derpy.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm glad to see them take this. And okay, not going after the Lucio this time. Baptiste dead. All right, nice clean fight win. There's no way that Obsidian can get thrown off by this one. That Sim turret is not getting the Lucio, surely. Nice little off the map kill onto Zeb. The ship's going to reset. That's what we like to see. Okay, in control of the map now, but I believe 85% once again on the objective. Puts Citrus in last fight territory if they can just get one. Yeah, that was good. Derpy caught way out of position there. Maybe just assumed that Obsidian, who have played a pretty tentative game this far, weren't going to aggress on that, but Hopeful and Sunny just catching them out.
I think the silver lining for Citrus is that it was an expensive fight for Tyrant's Obsidian, who's only going to have the beat coming into this. The Bastion essentially cosmetic, and as I say that, Zeb pops, there's plenty of damage coming through, but no kill as Unread pops the beat. Mirrored, in fact, as both DJs are breaking it down. But so far, no one's really dying. It's a pause in the action, a lull of sorts, and they're straight back to it. Ryan's brawling, hammers swinging. Another Bastion, this time from Hopeful, again finds very little, but it's Sonny who's going to fall at the end of things, and Citrus in control of the point once more.
It felt, again, a little bit like a blunder there. The beat got pulled maybe a little early from Unread, scared by that artillery strike. Didn't want to see Dynasty go down early in that fight. But then Flumpy matches the beat on the other end. I feel like Citrus probably could have held on to theirs for a little while, aggressed further, tried to force anything else out from Obsidian, but I mean, in the end, they managed to close out the fight regardless, managed to get the picks, the overhealth from the Timeless Obsidian, Lucio just wearing off that little bit sooner. Citrus are the ones that end in control of the point, and then they're just able to clean up the kills and end the round there. 85%, like we saw, that magic number. Once you cap at that point, you're fine, right? Unless you capped but lost like 3 players in the process, and you didn't kill anyone, you're done. So not a hugely surprising outcome. They were able to just wrap that one up neatly.
Yep, we're back now. But it's going to be, I believe, open map pool. So anything that Timeless Obsidian could wish for, they can go towards. Of course, it's going to be a first of 2, best of 3. And so they are 1 map away from losing their opening game in this round robin, which is not really how you'd want to start. But then again, Citrus do look like a real contender in this group, so there's no shame about that. But either way, you're in this position. You've just lost against Reinhardt Brawl. Where are you taking this next? Anything in the world on hybrid?
I mean, I want to say not King's Row. Just like, please, okay? Please not King's Row. But at the same time, it's the one map every team scrims, like, constantly, and every team plays in tournaments constantly. So as much as you can think, like, oh, well, it's going to favor the Brawl to an extent, if it's the only one you get any real good practice on, maybe you're like, I don't care. What I want to see, though, okay? What I want is Numbani. Because Numbani is absolutely horrible for a Reinhardt. Just the worst. If you want to play the Sigma there, that's okay, right? You can try and make that work, and I feel like there's a... Maybe I'm going to sound crazy for this, but Sigma's kind of shifted a little bit less from how I would think of a usual off-tank into being more like Ryan and the main tanks with the changeover to Overwatch 2. The way that he's become quite an anchor more so than anything else as opposed to like the Zarya and the D.Va who still feel quite off-tanky to me. I think you can play those if you're feeling comfortable with it, but I think if you are Timeless, you want to go to something that is comfortable for you, so a map that you can play a nice dive on, because I know Sunny likes the Winston, and I know Keith likes the Ana, right? So go over to something you can play the comfortable dive on, and something that the Citrus team cannot play a comfortable Reinhardt on, because you know that they're good at that. They seem pretty comfortable. I think there's also room to talk about Blizzard World, but I never see Blizzard World. I feel like teams just don't like playing it. Like,
It's because it sucks.
I keep hearing that about Numbani, okay?
I like Numbani.
Whenever we do this, all right, everyone's like, oh, Numbani sucks. Oh, Blizzard World sucks. Oh, Iconvold sucks. You complain that you don't want to see King's Row, and yet the only map you like is King's Row, okay? Make up your mind. You can have one or the other. Anyway.
I gotta agree with you there. I think that the thing about Blizzard World is because the sight lanes are so long, it leads itself to some like often it's like poke comps, like even like sniper comps, and the rotations are just not that interesting to make without getting picked off. So it can be pretty slow, at least getting onto the first point. I think once you're into second and third, it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more open ended. But yeah, Nimbani I think is the ticket for Timeless Obsidian should they choose to go there.
What do we think of Iconvold? Because we were talking a little bit about Zarya, right? And I think Ike is one of those few maps where Zarya is pretty comfortable throughout all 3 of the points for it. Usually, anything brawly that you're running on first then really struggles on second because you have to assault that high ground. But Zarya being in the unique position to bubble those stragglers, I think gives you a little bit more opportunity to assault the castle, so to speak. And then, obviously, once you're back in close quarters at third point, happy days, easy grabs. So, what do we think about an Ike? Would we be happy to see that, or would we think that these teams are probably going to avoid it?
I think that the Symmetra that you're very likely to see out of Citrus makes it more likely than not that it would not be amazing, just because the extra mobility is going to be really useful throughout second. I also think it allows you to more easily mark the kind of 2 main pathways that teams are going to make out of the choke when you're attacking. Of course, you can go through the left side, go through that health pack room to get a little bit more cover, or you can just run down main. But this is a conversation we're going to have to shelve as we do have the map pick. It is, as you said, Nimbani, and I do have to say this is probably the best choice, I think, for Timeless if they want to make it back. I think graphics wrong if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think there was definitely room from the side of Timeless to be like, if you, because I believe they have, is it Iquack? I might be, or Sloth, like a really, really comfortable hit scan player who we've seen an absolutely absolutely goated, sorry, Widowmaker out of. I think if you wanted to go over to the Blizzard world, even if everyone hates it, if you're the one team that loves it, you know, maybe in that kind of instance you could go over there, but Numbani I think is just safe. We talked about the Winston and the Ana dive in particular. There's just, it's not necessarily a solved map, but it's a lot more comfortable than maps like Blizzard World, where no one plays them and no one likes them. So I'm happy to see that.
I can't argue with that. I don't think I've ever seen a team pick Blizzard World.
I've seen it during, like, really... I think it was during Banana Rush in particular, where there was, like, the Kiriko who could easily try and get the off angles on the high ground, and then you were also running, like, the Winston dive. But yeah, it's a map that tends to leave the Ana in particular very vulnerable. So unless you're playing Winston dive without an Ana, and you know that the other team is also going to be running Widowmaker, it's just like... Or you want to run Widowmaker yourself. I don't know. I don't think it's the best choice. Here's something interesting, though. Unread on the Mercy Dynasty on the Echo. This is actually a thing that I've seen before in scrims, and I'm quite fond of. Sunny's Diva as well is a staple, something that we are familiar with, even if it's not the Winston. So this looks like a pretty comfortable composition from Timeless Obsidian. I don't think they're getting anything interesting there, but Citrus sticking to the Reinhardt. They've decided to say, screw me, I don't know anything about the
I will say that the Mercy is much more common on the attack because you can get those one-shots with the Swifties. Most teams normally think that the extra support that either a Kiriko or a Brigitte can bring is more valuable, but here's Sunny brawling down in front of the whole team. Spies with a hair and a dream, but supports have been traded. No Mercy for the Echo, but no Baptiste for Citrus means that surely there's no chance for them here, right?
Unless you take Keith out with a nice little teleporter. We were talking about the way that those teleporters could be used to catch teams out, you know, bring them off guard. I was just about to talk about how, like, I've been aware of, like, the Ashe Mercy on defense in particular, not as much the Echo Mercy, but I've seen it work. But the Rhine in particular, you want to be getting on top of. I was thinking Citrus aren't going to be able to assault this. They found Keith. Now just taking their time. They don't really have to rush in, right? They can just wait for their teammates to come back. They've set up on the high ground now as well, which Obsidian can't as easily do with the Ana.
They're trying to fight it back. Obsidian are trying to fight it back. And it's going decently. These trades are very back and forth. The spawns, I believe, a little bit closer. 4 times Obsidian. And Z-Man is in Narnia. I don't really know what was happening there. I'd be so real with you. I don't
Duel
know
between Keith and Z-Man.
The
They're fighting for the rights to flame me in chat.
Real.
I think...
No, but... I think the Mercy still isn't the pick, but does manage to come up clutch there just because it's going to come back a little bit closer. We saw Dynasty running back to Tug unread, and that means that Timeless Obsidian were down numbers for a little bit of less time than Citrus were. Forcing high ground now will be the ball comp.
I think if you're able to just keep getting these picks, right, the Mercy can just res, or if the Mercy dies, who cares? It's just a Mercy. So, like, if you trade your Mercy, like, that's fine. You always win in that. If the Mercy doesn't die, you can try and get the res off, because the rotations are reliant on the teleporter. It would be nice if Keith didn't get caught on the low ground, but hey, you know, happens to the best of us.
I don't know where Keith is going. I'm so confused. Some of the support positioning has been baffling so far, but...
It must be the Sim teleporter forcing positions away. It just
probably,
has to.
Yeah.
Okay, and Dynasty clears up 3, so...
Oh, Dynasty's just that guy.
See, that's the thing, right? You get rid of the Ana. The Mercy is still there to enable, presumably Dynasty, but could also hopefully if Dynasty dies, right? You just have that happen. If the Echo can get one trade, the Mercy's free to get a res off. We can see Keith's already back, has the nano boost, is able to set up. The Bastion scouting for this Ana. None of those artillery strikes are hitting. That was a bit wild from Zeb. Yeah. Teleporter coming in again. Immediately, Keith is the sacrificial lamb this map. But once more, Dynasty just able to immediately burn down Zeman. So, I think
Keith might be dying, right? But Keith is also mating the teleporter.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is it. That is the entire reason why Citrus keep on getting 1 kill and then dying. Because with no sustain, while they have the damage, yes, to get 1, then at the end, the rest of the timers are just going to outpoke them. That's what's happening again and again and again. So Keith has actually come up absolutely huge here. And yeah, Citrus, now with 30 seconds left, they need to attack and they need to get something going fast.
Yeah, because the Ursa to try and make something look that you can... You can try and deny like a Mercy res, Unread dies anyway, so it's not a huge problem there. Ultimate's coming out now from Timeless Obsidian as well. Dynasty going on to the Baptiste, dupe to make up the fact that Keith once again has acted as sacrificial lamb and is gone. Zidman just going to be caught out, I imagine. I always get confused because Americans are pronouncing it Z. I want to pronounce it Z. I feel like it should be Z, man, but hey. Hopefully finding Derpy on the tail end of that. Sunny has the bomb here to be able to remake, though, on point. It's going to be able to zone as well. Floopy caught out, trying to get away from the bomb. He managed to get away from it. Hopeful. That Lucio from Keith comes back in. No longer on the honor. Decides that's enough. You can't dive me anymore as Derpy comes back on the wrecking ball, but is not able to touch in time. Well, not 0%, but 0 meters. Just shy of 2 ticks for Citrus to try and get first.
Almost a full hold for Timeless City, and they look so much better when they're not forced to engage on Citrus's own terms. You see, more than a couple of attempts were tried, more than a couple of strats came through from Citrus, but none of them really had any merit. It was the Echo Stickies and the Ananade that was constantly tearing them to shreds.
This is
so
the
actually
kind of
humongous place from
downside
those two players, yeah.
The downside of the Sim Teleporter and trying to make that work on this map rather than just like a dive is you're playing around, what, an 8-12 second cooldown? Like, it's so long for you to reposition, and the way that Timeless addressed that was basically like, okay, have Keith sit away from the rest of the team, throw one nade, and then we just have to hope we get a trade. And they just did. They just got the trade each time. If there had ever been a situation, I think the first fight where they lost Keith, and I believe they lost Sunny as well. Like, it was just Hopeful Dynasty and Unread left alive to defend the objective. If Citrus had gone a little bit faster there and tried to push on a little bit quicker, I know they were being tentative because they didn't have their Baptiste, but if they'd taken that fight just a little quicker than they did, I think there was room for them to get a comfortable 2 ticks that they could then just finish off the rest of the map on in the next offensive. Because they played it out, though, after that point, Obsidian were just able to keep cycling ultimates, bringing, you know, their strengths as they came through. Keith was able to just get the respawns constantly, though frustrating as it is to walk back as honest slowly every single time. But yeah, Citrus maybe run a little bit slow. This time, playing as slow as it gets. Bunker composition.
It's going to be very interesting. I think the Dynasty Stickies are going to be what cracks this point open. Oh, they're all swapping. They're all swapping. They see the Sigma, Torion, Poker, and they decide this won't be the comp they're going to play.
Winton? Are we going to go over to the monkey, maybe? Okay. Genji Tracer is interesting. Okay, there's the Ashe to make the Mercy make sense. I guess if Unread wants to play the Mercy rather than the Lucio with the Orisa, then yeah, that's fine. Because Sunny's seems okay on the Orisa here. I'd almost expect to see the Winston, because that's what Sunny loves playing so much. But
Torbjorn might make that a little bit harder if their plays defensively, just the anti-dive.
Yeah.
Of course, that overload can do so much damage, but speaking of damage, Kashir dashes it out the long range helix to take care of Hopeful, starting off this defense with a bang.
Okay, that was, I don't know quite what the plan was there. Kashir just showed you that, like, showing your head for a little while is a pretty risky thing to do, and then Unread just decided, yeah, you know what? Challenging the soldier as a Mercy is the right call. But hey, it gets you back to your team a little bit quicker. Again, I'm kind of ready for the swap. Okay, there it is. The Diva swap from Sunny. That's what I was waiting for. At this point, they're now going to be able to take those high grounds that little bit easier, get on the offensive. Kashir is not going to be able to have a free time to pick up what he wants anymore, so yeah, this is happy days for me. I like this.
Let's get pressure early onto the backline. Nice deflect, but Dynasty now left with no cooldowns. There's very little to do but break the healing pylon and wait for the Diva to sync up with him once again. It's going to have to be very slow from Timeless Obsidian, as indeed every attack of Nimbani is, but they really don't want to lose here after such a stellar defense, so hopefully they can get something going and going fast. A nade from Keith would allow it to happen. Plenty of pressure onto Derpy. It's going to make it a little bit awkward. Dynasty, of course, out in the back line. And Sunny demeched as well means that this is going to be another attack I think to forget.
For Obsidian here, you kind of don't mind if they just take a really long time on one fight and they just play super slow to try and find the picks. Citrus have no choice but to do that. Obsidian can just play that game though and play it better than them. We've seen times when Citrus are getting bought out and picked off. But maybe Obsidian trying to go a little bit too quick, a little bit too fast here are the ones who are actually getting the unfavorable trades. So
Ults are up here for Obsidian. They have the Nano Blade. They got Bob as well to force point pressure. There's the Bob for the point pressure. Folded quickly, but Diamond Boost now on to Dynasty, who goes through Z-Man. That's the Matrix gone as well. The Torbjorn, 1 HP, manages to get the headshot. Zeb comes up humongous for his team.
Everyone in Citrus is still, I mean, Floopy's doing a little okay. Oh, there you go. Zeb's finished off. Derpy is still very low, but until you get rid of that Ilaria, you're kind of just in a little bit of a rough position. Everyone looking at the Sigma, but the pylon and the Ilaria just not letting that sick die. In the chaos of it all, though, point gets capped and Timeless are able to win. This is what I'm talking about with those slower fights, right? You can just wait and wait and wait and wait. Ultimates came up, they were just throw everything at it. Citrus actually had the favorable ult bank there, I believe. They had 4 to Obsidian's 3, but didn't have the time to get them all off properly, and that is going to be Numbani wrapped up in favor of Timeless Obsidian. This is a first to 2, so 1-1.
I think they had more of them, but I think that the ultimates you're going to have when you're playing this kind of echo composition, especially with the Ana, are just stronger. Duplicate such a massive ult. Nano boost, humongous in value. Or Genji, sorry, I misspoke earlier. But again, Dragon Blade, especially when comboed, is going to come up so large. And ultimately, I think the value of their ultimates did to kind of bring them over the line there. Banking ultimates until you get an advantage and dumping them, maybe not as elegant as you would have wanted, but it does get them over the line. And they're going to be tied 1-1.
I mean, I'm just thinking about from Citrus's perspective, right? If you've got... They had the Ilari Baptiste, like both Window and... Like, Sun's not a huge ultimate, but you can usually... hope for at least one pick off the back of that when Obsidian aren't running any defensive ultimates. And you could argue maybe Valk, but I think you'd be pushing the definition there a little bit. When you've got nothing else to work with in terms of keeping your team alive, like you could expect like Window and Sun to get something right. Flux is very strong when you're not got to worry about a Suzu or a Lamp or anything that could like. I mean, there's the Sleep Dart, but if you just play around the Sleep Dart, that's kind of it. You're free. So I think for Obsidian, there was definitely a difficult position there for them, but Citrus, they seem to, and I think we saw the same thing a little bit on Lijiang, they seem to not favor going really quick. They like playing a little bit slower, and I think I was a little bit wrong earlier. I was talking about how Obsidian can play that slow game to the same tune as Citrus. But it seems like the code actually here is just play a long poke, and then go absolutely as quick as you can, right? Fast, and just keep that pressure on. Because it seems like Citrus, they just don't respond to it super cleanly. So, as we go over to Suravasa, which obviously Flashpoint, a little bit unfamiliar for everyone still, at this point I'm curious about if we're going to be seeing the same kinds of like Lucio Rhine compositions from Citrus, or if we're going to be seeing Junker Queen, Zarya. I've seen a few teams try the Ball or the Doomfist, but I don't think those heroes are in the best spot right now. Doom is okay. I'll give him that, but I think when you're playing into like Zarya, Orisa, Queen, Rhine in their current states, you're maybe having a bit of a time. What are you looking for?
I mean, the name of the game of Flashpoint always has to be Lucio, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the linchpin. That's what every other composition is going to be designed around. And I think for Timeless Obsidian, that does make it a little bit awkward for them. Obviously, when they have been finding their successes, it has not been off the back of comps with Lucio in it. That's been kind of the name of the game of Citrus. So they're going to have to, again, play on Citrus's tempo. And I mean, we saw what happened on Lijiang Tower. I shut out more or less. So you've got to give the advantage here to Citrus.
I think my one hang-up, right? My one hang-up. We are going to Suravasa rather than New Junk City. New Junk City has a lot of like very enclosed indoor spaces, tight-knit, right? Not really a lot of room that you can work with. Whereas Suravasa is a little bit more open. However, all of our questions and more, including the end of this series, shall be answered after our next break. We're going to be going for a little while as players set up and lobby gets ready. So we will see you shortly, but not quite yet.
Atlas Fighters Standoff. Choose your fighter. Cammy Tracer. Choose your fighter. Sakura Kiriko. Choose your fighter. Bison Sigma. Check out all this and more at goatsreviveshop.com.
We're back. Suravasa for you. Looking bright and very pretty, actually, I have to say. The map designers did a beautiful job with this one. Fortunately, we're not going to be starting over here.
As well as Suravasa. I like New Jack City maybe you can't describe as pretty, but both of them just visually very good for such big maps as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think I do prefer how New Junk City plays. It can be a little bit more scrappy. I think a little bit more like angles based, but both of them I think are actually really, really good maps. I think they're a brilliant archetype of the new game mode the developers have given us. And we were kind of discussing in the break what we thought both teams would run. Citrus, of course, over to the Reinhardt. This was a given, we thought, but Timeless Obsidian looks like playing Orisa Poke. Note the Zenyatta on the back line, going to be very, very squishy, should get TP'd on top of, but if that doesn't happen, if Kashir is not allowed to TP for whatever reason, Timeless Obsidian are going to be winning out the Pokeball 9 times out of 10.
I don't like this comp.
Oh, no, neither do I. I think no Lucio on Flashpoint is a strange idea, and I think you have no way of punishing the Symmetra teleports, but, you know, maybe they know something we don't.
I mean, if you're... The only huge, like, burst damage potential here is, like, Discord Orb from Unread, Headshot from Dynasty. But even then, like, it's not... It's such, like, a pseudo-dive poke setup. You've got, like, the Tracer here trying to get stuff going. I don't like this. I'll be honest, I don't like this. Citrus is just playing something that makes sense and it works for the Flashpoint map. And it's sensible. I don't really get what Timeless Obsidian are trying to work here for a win condition even. It just doesn't feel like
With bullets, I guess.
But we're seeing them not even manage to do, like, they're shooting them, sure, but already Zed at like 80% now for window. You can see the Baptiste just bumps healing, and they don't have a way of getting around that because they don't have one hit potential, they don't have dive potential, they don't have a big burst that they can try and do. In the middle of this, though, somehow managed to get on top of them regardless, despite both a Lucio Amp and a Sim Teleporter. Managed to take the point. This is why I don't do play-by-play. Okay? How do you all feel?
Yeah. I'm still pretty... I'm not a good play-by-play either, let's be real here, but what a strange fight. It feels like there was just no indication that Kashir ever really wanted to go for a deep TP, often what you're going to call the win condition of this composition. Just kind of fighting at close range, respecting the frontline trade, thinking that the Reinhardt would trade it out, but in the meantime, Hopeful got into the backline, got the work done. Both Baptiste charged windows, and when it came to it, Timeless Obsidians just a little bit more effective with the full Brawl composition, or Poke composition, sorry. The Bob for Dynasty could come up huge if they get a chance to invest it. The TP onto high ground, Bob to punish!
Wait, Bob?
He's on high ground.
Is he? Oh my god, okay. I thought he just ran off. I thought he, honestly, I didn't see them all get launched in the air, so I was thinking, where
Oh, they did.
Oh, okay. Nice.
That's awesome. No, but that's going to pay out. The TP from Citrus onto the high ground absolutely paid off dividends, and Timeless Obsidian going to be stopped at 99%, and relatively cheap for them as well. Only having to use the wall and the beat means they're going to have 3 very strong ults to be in leveraging this defense, and that means Timeless Obsidian only one more shot because they're slow with the Lucio, because the point just picked up so fast. And chasing, staggering, Dynasty goes down. That's going to mean the first point is given over instantly. There's no chance for Obsidian to recontest. They're trying for it anyway. Transcendence popped on the point. The Shatter catches nothing with Orisa Gold as well. But is that enough? And Red going down to the bash and nade, and I think the cards are beginning to fold. The dominoes begin to fall, and Timeless Obsidian going to be burned out of round 1.
I think the way that Obsidian tried to approach that first fight was very much like, oh, well, we can just... Well, sorry, Citrus tried to approach that first fight. We could just poke into Obsidian constantly, right? And we can sit on the point, and we've got like the Bastion, we've got the Sim. We're going to be threatening to them. But because they didn't take the initiative and play that fast game that we've mentioned they don't always like to do, they instead gave Timeless Obsidian the room to do whatever they wanted. Also, I have to say, Keith Diff, Zedman and Keith, my 2 people I have to roast. It's contractually Keith Diff. When you're trying to find that kind of like difference, if we want to play slow, Timeless Obsidian are eventually going to be able to get on top of you. But now they're taking the initiative, now they're taking those Sim teleporters in the way that you talked about, wanting to get the initial initiative, rather. It's working. It's going well for them. And now we're seeing much more predictable fight flows.
Balls from Hopeful could come up huge, but instead it's the Zenyatta on Red who again goes down early. The stick connects, and that's going to be a kill as well. So even Stevens, I believe, so go the trades. But with the symbol down, that could still be enough for Citrus to try and get this going with the point presence, with the damage, and with Dynasty going down once again. The Bastion's in the turret form and Rocket jumping forward, putting so much pressure onto the Orisa. The spear comes through, won't get the final blow. Instead, it's Citrus who again are in control here.
If I say to you Orisa, right? What is Orisa really good at?
Living.
Living. Bunkering down, just staying still. Don't die. Literally just stand there and don't die. Is Orisa's specialty. Does Tracer help with that?
I guess it gives the Tracer more time to work on the off-angle.
Would you rather have something that helps the Tracer on the off-angle? Because I think I would.
I guess you've got the Zen ult for it. Like, I think that the composition is fundamentally not good for this map. I think that if we were watching like a hybrid, I wouldn't hate it.
I'm not sure what map I would want to see. I'm thinking about Numbani, where I'm kind of happy to see like the Ashe, Zen in particular, or like a BAP Tracer duo in particular. I'm like, well, maybe I could see it on maybe like Gibraltar or something like that, where maybe you could, if you didn't want to run a Winston Ana, you could run the BAP instead. But this particular lineup, which we are seeing change now, hopefully going over to the Bastion and Dynasty going over to the Hanzo, much more sensible, I think, for a rounded out poke composition. I'm just looking at those 5 and I'm thinking, I can't think of a single time where I would want to see them together.
I think on this patch it's not ideal, but I don't hate it in theory. I hate it here. Oh, Dynasty goes down early. The aggression from Citrus pays off again. The damage pressure has not been enough to stop Citrus from just running into the backhand of Timeless Obsidian. That shows absolutely no signs of stopping here. The Transcendence is going to be popped, only the one healer, and after this is just going to be the Harmony Orb to keep all of Obsidian alive, and the Shatter from Derpy knocks down 3.
I felt kind of bad for Derpy for that, because it was just watching Sunny mash their little Risa face into the Reinhardt, and the Reinhardt just to stand there with shield up for like 30 seconds, as it slowly got whittled down, and like, there was nothing the Ryan could do until the Transcendence expires and throws down a Shatter, and then you win the fight, which I guess is just how you have to play this hero into an Orisa, but it takes a surprising amount of discipline to keep yourself from trying to go on the offensive there. If you do, you just die. You just fall over.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Window popped early, gonna force a lot of the sight lines, and the Orisa ult forcing them into it. It's a nice combo from Timeless Obsidian, but only good for the one. And in the meantime, Zeb in the turret form is able to get much the same with a little bit less investment. Citrus, again, in control. I have to say that Timeless Obsidian are going to need a turnaround and one fast if they want a chance here, but 80% charge? I mean, Hopeful is going to need to escape now or somehow kill 3 if they really want a chance. They have respawns at least, but this is their last shot here. Remember, if they lose this fight, they're going to be losing this first game. Citrus will be able to walk away from it with the win.
Surprise Bastion was flanked from Hope to take out Zeb at the start of that, and then building into Surge Break as well means they can open out this fight pretty cleanly with the Bastion trades. You were hoping that found a pick, but even if it just forced out Lamp, you were getting some kind of value. Now the Dynasty's able to take a pick with a nice angle, but Zedman's got the window that is just putting so much pressure onto the objective. 99% overtime ticking down. Timeless Obsidian have to find something, but all they are finding is death and ruin and dismay. Unread the last one alive, but isn't even able to get to the point. Manages to save their death stat, but that exclusively as Citrus manages to close this one out. First to 2, GG's. Citrus take Series 1. And we're going to be with them for the rest of the day, so it's good too. They're giving us a nice start. Oh, Keith Diff. There it is.
Whoa!
Keith! Yay!
But that's kind of just, that is how the Baptiste window trades work in the end of things. It's just, if you manage to get that value in the first, like, half second even of the window coming up, and Keith is able to get that there. That's why Citrus were able to establish first control. They're able to snowball it from there, and sometimes people say the scoreline was deceptive to kind of cool a game, you know, close. This one is kind of deceptive the other way. I have to say, Citrus looks so in control, except for on Numbani, and even there, they gave Timeless Obsidian a pretty okay fight on their own defense. So I think some work to do definitely for Timeless Obsidian and Citrus. They're looking poised to be an absolute force of nature in this group.
Yeah, and it does kind of just me, my own knowledge, wondering a little bit, like, could we have seen more of that Junk Queen, kind of maybe in a Zarya coming out of Timeless Obsidian if they'd not wanted to play Sonny instead? I talked about this a little bit the last time that I saw Obsidian. Like, they've got this player who seems comfortable on those kinds of heroes, but they just seem a lot more practiced and comfortable keeping Sonny as their starter tank, and I think it's starting to be a little bit of a limiting factor. as now that we're outside of a hard Winston meta, it seems as though the kinds of heroes that they're comfortable playing are becoming more and more limited, especially into teams like Citrus who are pulling out something a little bit wacky with the Rhine Dive. But I believe that's us, is it?
It's us for game 1, yeah. We're going to be back in a hot second with game 2 of this particular group. So don't go anywhere, just going to get a glass of water and we'll be right back. But until then, we'll see you guys.
Atlas Fighters Standoff. Choose your fighter. Cammy Tracer. Choose your fighter. Sakura Kiriko. Choose your fighter. Bison Sigma. Check out all this and more at goatsreviveshop.com.
Hello.
We're back. Hi. Yeah, I know. None of us decided who's gonna lead off, so.
No, the
we're
thing
both
is, we're
just sitting
both used to having a play-by-play caster who's like, okay, yeah, they'll lead off, and we both just sit here
exactly.
like, oh, right, we have to do that now. We're the lead off.
I mean, we're not paid to have personality here. You know, that's the play-by-play.
You're getting
job.
paid.
I don't think so. Well,
I'm paid
either
to have
way.
personality. It's just clicked what you said. Hey now, I think I'm
It's so
plenty
true.
personality full. I can speak good word and English proper.
Bloody hell. Anyway, look, we're back with Citrus. You can see them. They're up there. We don't need to look at their roster again. We got Imperium, who's over... Nope, there. Got it in the end. So they're going to be the next matchup against Citrus, who look very strong, I have to say. So, bit of a tall task on their hands if they want to upset Citrus, who, like, let's be real, they're going to keep playing Reinhardt. They're going to keep playing Reinhardt. They're like budget London Spitfire.
Maybe it was the mind games again. Maybe they just knew that Timeless Obsidian were not comfortable on anything other than like the Winston Diva compositions. And they were like, okay, well, we can play the Reinhardt knowing that it's stronger. Maybe Citrus have been playing 4G chess this whole time and they're going to come out and they're going to be playing Roadhog.
I think we should replace your camera, Willow, with just that photo of Charlie Day in front of the conspiracy board. I think that would help.
We get a little quote board behind me, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, so on this map in 2021, we saw they played 3 minutes of Roadhog. So I think if we extrapolate that from the meta that was available at the time, we'll be able to see that actually, yeah, we're going to be seeing exclusively Zarya from here on out.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't seem hugely likely.
Yeah, I do believe we have a giveaway today. I believe we've
Yes.
got some stickers, which would be rather nice if anyone feels like getting their hands on those. We've got a sticker pack. Just type !ticket in chat to get your hands on those. Nice little bit of Atlas Gaming Network pizzazz for you to throw in your laptop, motorbike, skateboard, gaming PC, shirt. I don't know. What do people put stickers on?
Look, I'll be honest. I really like stickers. I feel like that's something that you don't get too much after being like 7 years old, right? Stickers aren't really a thing that are made readily available in day-to-day life. At least not where I am. Maybe stickers are available everywhere else, but I'd love stickers. I think if every like event did just like a hey, here's some stickers, I'd get that each time. I'd be like, oh, this is to commemorate me working on this. Now I've got a little sticker. It would be like Pokemon, right? And you could add it to your little Pokemon collection. I'm just adding it to my casting collection of tournaments.
That would
I
actually
love free
be sick.
stickers. Yeah, see, everyone loves stickers.
Anyway, Imperium, they're here. I don't think they're playing M Bison for some reason.
Maybe.
It would be quite tricky. Other than that, nothing to really comment on. Amadian, Darix, Eevee, Hutch, and Saints will be the players who they're bringing to bear on the first rounds. Again, M Bison comps in Overwatch are a little bit tricky to run, so very unlikely to see that. Everyone else, I mean, Bastion, very strong. Sombra, less so. We've already spoken, I think, a little bit about the Moira and the Kiriko.
Yeah, I'm in a similar position with this as what we saw from Timeless Obsidian at the end of their last map, where it's not a hugely sensible composition all rolled into one. I think they're all interesting pieces, but playing them together just when I see like Moira, Kiriko, Sombra, I'm not expecting to see that paired up with Bastion, nor am I expecting to see the Bastion then paired up with a Sigma. We're admittedly only getting their favorite heroes when we ask these questions. Players rarely give away their starting composition, that little bit of extra information they clutch, making sure that no one can get any kind of advantage. But, I just believe the B stream has actually already seen Imperium, so they will have a better idea. Coventus is going to have a much more resolute understanding of what's going to be up for grabs than we do. But I think it could be... honestly, we've seen the Moira Kiriko teased. I'm kind of interested to see it played out. Just personally.
I think I've seen it once, and I think it made me very, very upset. So I'd like to not see that as we go into Oasis here. Oasis, a map, I think, where it's almost forces you to be a little bit more stand. I think better maps kind of really do enable the weird and wacky comps to come out. But Oasis, not really that. It's very, very basic in a lot of ways. You can't be punished by the Void in the same way that you can, for example, in Elios. You don't have the same high grounds to play over either. You know, if you're going to a Lijiang Tower, it's kind of wide open spaces except for Control Point, which allow you to play these really long-range like poke compositions with your Pharos, your Echoes, what have you. But not many off angles, kind of just brawling down main more often than not, especially here on University. And yeah, Citrus, more of the same Reinhardt brawl, and Imperium looking like they want to go to something rather similar. Arme hovering the Genji, still in storm. But, oh, yep, we're over to the Zarya brawl. I was worried. The Kiriko is going to be there, so try a little more damage, a little bit less sustain. It's gonna probably work in like a goon squad, I guess you call it, with Ame. And yeah, the Sojourn to top it off, a little bit less resource intensive than the Bastion.
I was curious about the Symmetra to start with. I think it was just going to be out of spawn, but if they stuck on the Sim, you don't really... Whereas Citrus get the advantage of that, being able to teleport around the map as they wish with their Reinhardt, the Zarya doesn't really need that so much. I mean, you've got the Lucio as well with the Genji Kiriko. You're kind of comfy not needing the teleport. The only hero who really needs it is the Symmetra. So... nice to see them switch away to something that's a little bit more soft divey in the way that Sojourn can be. Honestly, I really like the Sojourn Genji compositions. They've got this really nice way of playing around each other where they're both just trying to find any kind of purchase and then they both just go really hard at the same time. I find it quite fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that time though, the Sojourn's going to get caught out. It's a dance of death with Amadian trying to breathe the side as long as possible, but that time goes a little bit too long, and Imperium will be taken down in the underpass. It's just establishing control first. And
that was a
kind
really
of
nice
the name of the game.
maneuver.
Yeah,
that was really nice.
I think the only player you can teleport on top of has to be Amadian, right? I mean, the Genji, the Lucio, the Kiriko, they can all just escape so quickly, and going right into the jaws of the beast would be teleporting on top of Hutch and that Zarya. So I think gonna have to be the target. The Sojourn slide the most important hero perhaps here, but some damage early on from that.
I think if you're able to get onto the Zarya before she's able to build up her energy, there's potential she's caught all alone, but that's a pretty big misplay from Hutch that you just don't want to see happen. Again, it is just the Sojourn and the Genji trying to control his half angles. It's what they need to be doing in this situation, but at the same time, the second they're separated from the Zarya, the second they're away from their Lucio speed boost, they're just kind of left out to dry. And one disadvantage of the Kiriko in particular that, in my mind, makes her one of the weaker like classical flex support options these days, is just the travel time of her healing projectile. Like, the Afuda just takes too long to get there. If someone plays fast... Okay. No, they've seen it. They've seen the Reinhardt. Shatter blocked. Okay, no, never mind. Back in again, and just sending the Zarya into the spawn. Okay, that was a nice little attempt at a play, but completely read and outdone by Hutch and Darkseid there. Kiriko getting that Suzu and the bubbles out, just denying that down, but it was actually pretty expensive for Citrus. Zeb dies, Zedman's now having to use Window. The Shadow obviously taken out by Derpy already. Imperium able to come back with their ultimates of their own as Bashir throws down that photon barrier from the Symmetra. They were able to get a decent amount of purchase there, but it seems like they're maybe struggling to clean up this fight. The Reinhardt's just staying alive. Zedman again showing just an incredible level of efficiency on the Baptiste, and they're finding the traits back their way. Blade gets pulled just to try and find a finishing here. I think Amadian pulls the overclock as well. And still, trades are going back in Citrus's favor as Ame goes down to Zeb. That was very, very messy from both teams, and I'm not really sure which one came out on top. The point got flipped in Imperium's favor, but it seems like Citrus, they're just going to be able to walk on and take it back unchallenged. 85% now and still going up. One fight left for Imperium is not a lot of time with 0 ultimates.
Yeah, 10% to try and slow it down. The rail onto Thumpy though connects. That's a great way to start it up. Still, it's going to be a rough chance with the Reinhardt composition on the point. Ame goes blowing up. Zeb again, the one to find the final blow. The window will be abandoned by Citrus, but I think it's paid off all the work it needs to. Citrus in control throughout University.
I don't dislike what Imperium are trying, okay? The thing that is most difficult for a Brawl or a Rush comp to play into, especially these Reinhardt ones, you typically see it with a Mei as well that really doubles it down, but the Bastion Sim iteration works just fine, is angles. They don't like angles. When you take angles against them, they really struggle to deal with them because they can really only look one way. very effectively. And if they have to look in another direction, well, their attention is too split, and you can usually try and get on top of at least one member of the team. But from Imperium, it seems like Ame, Amedian, and Saint are all trying to off-angle at the same time, all trying to take these different approaches. And it's just splitting them way too much. The DPS always caught out on the off angle. It feels like I'm rarely seeing the Lucio enabling any particular person, just kind of there. So I think as they go over to this Junk Queen iteration who can just run down a little bit easier without relying on the Zarya build-up, maybe we're going to be seeing a little bit more comfort from them. Zeb also going over to the Reaper rather than the Bastion. An interesting choice here. Not sure if that was the counter pick.
I mean, if you think they're running the Winston, I guess it would be good, but other than that, it feels like we're restricting the range of comps.
Yeah.
Imperium
Maybe
based on how they know they're going to be outpoking this 9 times out of 10, and yeah, as I said, that Derpy gets a rail to the head, gets taken down early, Citrus and back to score.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like Reek was there for burning Zarya bubbles, but I'm not running Zarya anymore. The usefulness is being reduced. Either way, Citrus have to back out. They're not backing out fully, which is nice to see. They're still contesting spaces. They're still getting the poke in. The Rhine comes back. 15% and upwards for Imperium is not a huge amount on the point. So for them, this was a pretty... They don't mind losing Derpy and no one else. We are actually now seeing the Maeve. I mentioned it before, and she was just summoned into my life. A joy, a breath of fresh air. As the Maeve's now going to be playing alongside the Reaper. Immediately, we see the Jungle Queen percentage going incredibly low, taken out. Nice little fight opening there. With the tank gone, you'd expect Imperium to be cleaned up pretty quickly as the Sojourn gets caught out, split off from the rest of the team. I mean, they've got to make it quick. The Imperium still hold the point. They're taking up to 50% now, just about. The remaining members of this Genji in particular just proving very elusive. If they do manage to get the cap just before that 50%, and they're looking for more kills on the tail end of it. Okay,
I will say, with this Mei Reaper combo, when they're at close range, they're absolutely deadly. There's nothing that Hutch can do to try and live there, but essentially you don't really need to do anything. If you just keep poking, your team is going to be way stronger. You have the Lucius to disengage if they want to get up at it. And
I'll
so
be honest.
as long as you just don't fight it, I think you still have the advantage here.
With the kind of composition that the Citrus are playing, the Mei can just kind of stand behind the Rhine shield and spam in forever. We can see that like the wall can slow things down there. I was beaten to it almost. And the way that now the sound barrier as well, I'm just a moment behind. The Mei can just keep this slow and slow forever. Poke, 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 poke. And people really think that Beam is this big upfront tool. I'll be honest, the Icicles are way more dangerous nowadays. The Beam, not that strong, so if you just keep going at a distance, Kashir now has built up to Blizzard already without really having to do anything close range until like the last 10 seconds. If the Mei wants to invest it, and they do, it doesn't catch on to anyone, but it's keeping this Junker Queen incredibly low. The Lucio doesn't want to try and finish off the kills alone. It's Zed, yeah, comes back in with the... Okay, Zedman's back in.
Oh, that goes down.
Yeah.
Such an awkward timing there, lacking the Genji leader. The do want to continue fighting. The shatter comes through from Derpy. The support's knocked on the ground and knocked out the round more than likely. 80% shortly going to be accrued by Citrus. They're pushing into spawn. They want to make sure there's absolutely no chance of Imperium touching. They want to lock them out of Oasis, and they're very close to doing so. There are a couple tools for Imperium, but they need to get their running boots on, and they need to get to the point fast. Lucio speed is there, as well as the Junker Queen shout, so a touch at least will be possible. But if there's a chance in the fight, well, that's a different matter entirely.
The sound barrier from Saint can be used. Okay, I was thinking using it for the amplification mission from Zed, but I'm thinking we just wait now for the Baptiste. Wait for them to try and push onto the objective. You only have to get one pick. There comes the window now. If you can find even just one off the back of this, you're putting yourself in a really strong position because now Imperium have nothing left if you let them build up to ultimates. DPS trades on either side, Ami going down and Zeb at the same time, so it's still 4v4, not really a clear favor here as Amidon is trying to get on top of the Baptiste. Zedman though, proving as elusive as always. Kashir's the pulse bomb to try and end this right now if they want to, but Imperium, they don't necessarily mind just letting them have this point for a little bit longer. 75% and counting gives them time for one more comfortable fight, but from Citrus again, I feel like I want to see them take a little bit more aggression. We saw this when they were playing against Obsidian, and whilst it's working out for them in the end, there are definitely win conditions that I am seeing they are not taking advantage of.
It's hard to disagree with that. Kashir lurking with the pulse and cook up beautifully, get the Suzu out, and there it is. A massive cooldown absolutely gone, and looking for more here on the Trace, just annoying on the off angle. It's doing a rush, getting kited pretty efficiently by Citrus. No one goes down, and the beat is there for the Dragon Blade of Ame, who has to go out 48 HP and gets a single kill. Hutch as well going down means that Citrus are free to push into the point. Now no one to control that space, and no one separating Citrus from 100% capping out Oasis. Darex coming in with a hero play, landing a headshot on Sheer. Amadean with the overclock finds one. Zeb though in the backline kills both the ports. There's not a single point of healing left for Imperium. They're going to have to play so slow, so passive, so evasively while the supports wait and come back. But Hutch is back on the Wrecking Ball, getting a slam onto Flumphy, just derpy, and will be taken down in short order. Now it's Zeb on the Reaper, the DPS of Citrus fighting for their lives here. They win out the trades. Will a touch be able to come through from Imperium? It will. The beat, just the supports, two players fighting desperately, but the shots won't connect from Darex nor Saint, who will be taken down. Citrus in a chaotic fight. They will take Oasis, but good God, that was closer than I think they wanted it to be.
We were talking about that Reaper in terms of like, what is this meant to be countering, what is this meant to be doing? But Zeb, notably at the end there, I think over the span of that whole overtime push, I think got a collective 6 final blows of just mowing people down, especially when Derby came back on the Wrecking Ball. Oh, sorry. Was it Derby who came back on the Wrecking Ball? Whatever. Wrecking Ball comes back in, Reaper immediately burns it down. Like, it's one of the few things that Wrecking Ball struggles with. So, in this kind of last moment composition, if the Death Blossom doesn't get 2, Imperium are probably in a much stronger position. They're probably looking pretty comfortable right now. If the Reaper isn't able to then take out the Wrecking Ball as well, if they're able to finish off the Reaper at any point, again, the Citrus probably aren't able to close that map out. That looked really in Imperium's favor for a moment there, but just lives. The Reaper just lives. They finally managed to chunk down Zedman, and they found that actually there was just another player who they had to deal with, another frustration to get back through. And kind of funny to see the way that Citrus are playing this.
It did also help that when Imperium had their biggest advantage, then Zeb just walks into the backline and Death Blossoms both of his supports.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, it's really, really rough, and it was a heroic effort from Imperium to keep it in contention for a little while after that. But I think that was kind of when the bell tolled for Imperium's hopes on Oasis.
That was preceded though by that Reaper going down to, I think it was about 60 HP with the rest of the team cut off. Like, the Reaper was isolated away from the rest of the point. There was 60% and only, I think, 90, 88%-ish to the Death Blossom. So the Reaper really was out of utility, out of tools, didn't have the ultimate up, low health, away from the rest of the team. If Imperium had been able to get on top of that quickly, we probably wouldn't have seen this positive conclusion for Citrus, because their Reaper was just so vulnerable, but was then able to almost single-handedly turn the entire fight on its head. I was kind of watching that thinking, like, please, someone heal my man. Someone give Zeb just a lick of healing, just one little shot from the Baptiste, and then I saw Zedman go down, and I was like, oh man, this is it. Maybe Citrus are going to drop this one, right? The Reaper's kind of caught out, but no, Imperium just not able to find that crucial pick onto the Reaper. Maybe Zedman, acting as the sacrificial lamb, took the fire for the Reaper instead. It was a rough moment, to be sure, for Imperium, but it is only the first map, though it is also worthwhile noting. It's a first to 2. So, at match point already, I'm afraid they don't really have any more room to give up as we go over to Hybrid. We saw Timeless take Citrus over to Numbani last time for something dive-centric. We have not really seen Imperium opting in for the dive thus far, more preferring these kind of Joker Queen and Zarias, something that we talked about was quite typical, quite standard. So for you, what are you expecting them to take us to next?
Well, let's give it... I actually quite like Eichenwald. I would like Eichenwald, actually. I think that because you're going to lack any sort of verticality if you want to run your JQs, your Zarias, that kind of thing, you want something close ranged, ideally, or you want something where you can take multiple angles that just the brawl competition won't be able to shut down. So that's probably what I would look towards. Of course, Eichenwald, though it does have long sight lines, don't have ones that can be played around, but instead we're going to see Numbani again. Hopefully we see a little bit more than just the first point this time, because we saw quite a lot of it in that previous series. It'd be nice to see if Citrus can be forced to play the entirety of the map, or if indeed they can force their opponents to play it. Because their attack as well was not looking too stellar, was it, Willow?
Not really. Numbani looks like an uncomfortable map for Citrus, and maybe this is what Imperium is trying to go for. But I think if you're playing the Reinhardt Rush, you look at Numbani as uncomfortable for that composition anyway, so... What I'm curious about more so than anything else is the kind of composition that we're going to be seeing from Imperium. I think of Numbani kind of internally as the comp breaker, right? If you can't run a composition comfortably on Numbani, it's probably just quite niche, quite specific. You're maybe going to do fine when we've only got Flashpoint in, but if you were having to run Escort, you've kind of got a feel for like, okay, we know what they're going to run because they just ran the Rhine still on Numbani, which is crazy and insane, and why would you ever do that? So we don't have to be too worried about going into like our escorts, and maybe we know what to expect on our push maps, right? We're not going to take them to Colosseo if we can avoid it. But from the side of Imperium, we're going to be seeing the Diva. This is an interesting note for me. I think it works fine on the defense, but I'd be curious to see if they continue it on the attack. I think Sigma in particular is a kind of an unsung hero on Numbani at the moment. Just does very well overall at shutting down any kind of dive whilst controlling both areas of high ground around first point. Again, we're going to be seeing this Echo Mercy iteration. I mentioned how I'd seen it a little bit, but this time it's going to be alongside the Ashe. That is quite a lot for the Mercy to manage. You can really only pick one target at a time. So one of those DPS heroes is going to be feeling the burn, as they're probably going to be the dive target.
I'm assuming that Darax is going to be playing with Amadian, using Suzu defensively. Hutch is going to be playing low resources, not trying to force the value of the Diva. Just using the defense matrix and the shotguns where necessary to force Citrus to respond. And
kind of hoping
yeah.
you treat Amadian as like the key throw, right? You just let them go onto the Ashe, and the Ashe dies, but you throw the dynamite down at the same time.
I think that's a very reasonable plan. TP broken. They've already went through it. They're just going for a long wrap, actually. Where is Citrus going?
We're getting a little vibe of Great Bamboozle right now. I think they're trying to go the long way round to try and take the high... Oh no! We've got bamboozled! They're going on to the objective! And now they're going on to the high ground, and they got pushed up.
Amadian's dead, though. And traded back and forth, actually. The Kiri headshots coming through from Darax are pretty huge. So no sustain for Citrus. These are, as standard, the situations where they should lose. It looks like Imperium are waiting for their respawns though before they go. You see how much damage Hutch takes as they fly through. But with the duplicate onto the Bastion, there's so much pressure, and Durfee cannot sustain holding shield desperately, but eventually let Balderic, it will crack. And I think Citrus will be cleaned up here in short order. The artillery formation from the duplicate doesn't catch too much, but at this point, Citrus have been sent back to spawn.
I'm tapped into the Matrix right now. I'm locked in and loaded. I'm seeing the future. Okay, we're seeing the way that the Ashe is being treated as just like the target to go onto. We saw the coach going to come out and push the Derpy on the Rhine off the high ground, and then we've also seen, however, Citrus taking a little bit more of an aggressive initiative. They managed to get 2 ticks this time, right? I talked about that in their Numbani match against Standoff Obsidian. They needed to be able to play a little bit faster so that they could get those 2 ticks early on, and then they had a much more tight window that they would be able to close out and play to Imperium's weaknesses. That's what we're starting to see this time. Darkseid down this time as well. Yeah, there you go. They're making it work. I'm tapped in.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a chance maybe for a res to come through with Hutch using the defense matrix to cover it, in theory perhaps, but not in this scenario. With the Bastion on the high ground, it's just going to be all over but the crying, and in about 2 minutes, Citrus will do what they've never done before, and they will cap the first point of Numbani.
Do you know what I kind of want to see? I kind of want to see like a sustained Mercy meta. Okay, maybe I'm crazy,
Okay,
but
we had that. It was called Moth meta.
Okay, in Overwatch 2, okay?
Okay.
I want to see it just so that I can see how far Mercy players can take like movement tech in coordinated play. Because she's just a hero that you see very, very infrequently, and it feels like every pro player and semi-pro player just does not want to have to deal with this hero. It feels like they just don't want to have to play Mercy. They want to just play Lucio and the Brig and literally anything else. I want to stop seeing like crazy nonsense plays from Mercy. I just want to see something super clean outside of that. That's how I feel. Anyway, fight.
It's still happening at least. So far we have Amadian now over to the Tracer. Poking has the pulse from that window, absolutely amazing. But the bomb even more so. Derpy and Zeb both taken down. And Imperium looking to stabilize here off the back of a humongous nuke from the Diva. Yeah, Z-Man now dead as well, just stabilized. And I will say about your comments with the Mercy meta, I think that Mercy players are kind of so dedicated to the hero that everything's kind of already been learned in terms of what you can do with the movement. And I think that the most fun way is playing Mercy, the one that most Mercy players would enjoy, kind of like using all your movement tech is kind of not possible because you can just hide behind the wall. But put that conversation on hold now as I'm going to go down.
I really like the way that Citrus are taking these incredibly aggressive fights. Derpy now, I feel, has been in the back line of Imperium for the last 2 fights. We saw the pin in on the high ground of the Sim TP last time, and now just absolutely going full throttle. What are you doing? You can't be all the way up. Ame is surely not in trouble. Okay, yeah. The Mercy comes in and is able to make sure that Saint is there. Right? The Saint. But the Derpy is still just standing in their faces. Just sitting here.
So deep.
Like, this is what I'd expect. Yeah, apparently.
The cap,
too deep.
The cap hasn't come through. It's so close. It's so
Able to
close.
send Amadian forward just to stall out the point with literally 8 centimeters left on the cart is a nice little play from Imperium, but such a big punish for Citrus. Like, you can't just send the Reinhardt in holding WM2 and expect the ride to be okay. Like, you do have to also be on the objective here.
Speed boosted Jedi, going to control a lot of space, but they can't give up too much. Remember, they need to keep contesting the point. They're going to burn all the punches cooldowns to do so, and while it will last the duration of the Jedi, it won't last much longer than that. Cap still hasn't come through, but no one can really keep touching the point for long, and as I say, that finally will happen. Without the point presence the Hutch can provide, really was all over, but the crying, no one to put the damage that Zeb has to put out there. And Citrus into the final stretch.
Derpy again trying to do the touch the spawn door challenge. Hutch had enough, going to play the Ariza. That's how you know someone's done like a decent job of playing an ultra aggressive run. Like, okay, fine. We're just going to sit here, we're going to stand, we're going to watch. There is going to be nothing you can do, right? I'm just going to exist and make your life difficult. I think it's really worth noting the difference between Zeb on this Bastion and the rest of... As we see the Bastion flying through the air, the rest of the defense line from Imperium now going over the Ashe and the Genji, they just... The sheer damage output from this Bastion is catching them out time and time again. That time it's going to be a Javelin, though, that catches out the Cassidy. Zeb the last one. Oh, sorry, no, Flunkey the last one to go down. I think when you're playing around this cooldown of the Assault form, there are definitely openings that you can try to exploit, but you're relying on the fact that the Bastion isn't able to find a pick during that cooldown if you want to exploit those in the first place. And Citrus now taking much more of an aggressive playstyle, I think is working in their favor. They maybe lost that fight there, but I'm happy to see them not just try and take it slowly. It's working out for them overall.
And again, we see the attempt to TP onto Amadin, who legs it, gets the Dynamite out as well in the Bob. But Hutch goes down. Zeb has the focus fire, will be punished. One shot will be Kashir and finally taken down by Ame. So this, I think, will be an attempt for Citrus to forget. Really not much of anything going there, but they also didn't invest anything. I don't think they're going to be too mad about it in the grand scheme of things. Ame is going to be poking from the high ground and getting pretty close to the Dragon Blade, but there's absolutely no kill pressure here. Really going to need a headshot from Amadian or an ultimate to try and get much of anything going. And with the window forcing all of Imperium off the line, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Really nice teleport there. You can see the way that they threw it on the window, recognized that they had started to do their rotation. The teleporter comes down. If you'd been able to get your Bastion on top of them at the same time there, it would have been really beneficial. But now, opposing window and feed coming out from Satan Darksea means that Flunkies had their own feed forced. It will be Darksea and the Baptiste going down first, but irrespective of that, nope, never mind. Ame's blade finds nothing but death. Hutch going down is probably going to be the end of this round. 30 seconds left for Citrus, maybe 20, 22. And then that's how they're going to close out third point on Numbani. A full map completion. You were talking about wanting to see more of the map. Well, there you go. A nice round trip. Are we going to see it from the same side of Imperium, though? Or are they going to get stuck at first?
Yeah, lovely little map tour provided by Citrus. See if Imperium can repeat the experience, complete the map, and hopefully even get a better time bank than Citrus. Definitely a doable task, not a Herculean effort by any means, but not easy either. We'll see if they've got them in them. And I think Citrus's composition might actually be a little bit stronger on the defense when you don't have to fight for every inch of space, when you're not getting hard punished nearly as much by the Dynamites that we were able to see from Ashe for Imperium.
I'm almost of the opposite opinion, to be honest. I feel like the teleports and the rotations that you'd want to see from the Symmetra to be able to effectively control the high ground whilst playing the Reinhardt means that you give very clear windows where your defense is much weaker. On attack, it's less of an issue because you can just not engage in. But if the enemy team wants to engage whilst you're on defense, you don't really have the option of not defending unless you want to give up all of that space that you were trying to control. We're not even going to see Citrus, it seems, start on the Symmetra. They're going to have the Ashe and the Soldier available, but still trying to make this Reinhardt work, this time with the Illari as well. So we've got basically a Reinhardt iteration of the shooter squad.
Why are they just not playing Orisa? I don't get it. We'll see if it's just Derpy's hero comfort, perhaps. But
that's
Orisa
the only
would
thing
be
I
what you
can
expect here. Maybe a Jungle Queen would also work in some scenarios, Sigma as well. Reinhardt really not something you'd expect to see too much of them. Arne with the Mercy Pocket, the Defense Matrix as well, is really looking to get those stickies to connect. Because one good right click, and that means that one person will be going down, but instead it's Floofy who connects the first shot, no Echo anymore. The Defense Matrix there for the res, so really won't slow down Imperium too much. But a taste of what's to come, perhaps.
The kind of disadvantage of Imperium, of Citrus running this Reinhardt is Imperium can just walk onto the objective, and then the Rein has to drop, and then everyone can just take the high ground anyway, and then the Rein is on the floor and useless. It seems though that we are trying to approach this from a perspective of let's just gently push down main and hope we don't get spammed by 4 hit scans, which I don't fit. Where are you going? Okay, no, you know what? Fair enough. I'm not going to question it.
Okay, I think an important thing to remember. Okay, so swaps coming through from Imperium, but when you are playing that Echo composition, you need to take angles, especially the left side. It's a vital area of the map to pressure, and if you've got every single person running down main, then you are essentially just walking into the kill box. Swapping over to some snipers, trying to land a headshot. A bold strategy, not something you can get going consistently, but Ame doesn't need consistently because as long as it only happens once, switch killing Floofy down. No healing onto Zeb means that might just be an easy follow-up before Hutchins is lurking around on the Diva. Ryan coming to heal maybe could have something to say, but I just don't think the hero provides all that much value here. But the rest of Citrus are looking to fight it back because she is Helix Rocket connects. Derpy trying to pin around the map, careening across all of Mimbani, but still looking for something to swing on. Imperium looking for disengage.
We're seeing kind of that kind of play that I was talking about, where you just force the Rein to drop, and then the Rein's not on the high ground anymore, so you're kind of safe. But we've traded out what you'd usually want to see in terms of like an Ana who can just keep the Diva alive whilst she's in, or like a Kiriko who's struggling a little bit more to make sure that the rest of the team is going. As soon as Saint's down, you're in a position where the Kiriko just cannot keep everyone alive. It is simply not enough healing output. Hutch going for that little bunny blast on the Zedman, that's not anything you like to see as a Baptiste. You definitely feel like you could have survived that one if you did anything a little bit easier. Ultimate's coming out as well. Captive Sun just gets entirely blocked up from the shield. Not going to achieve anything, and Fluke is the one who's going to go down. However, the trade's come back. Citrus is still finding picks here. Both supports from the side of Imperium no longer in the fight. Hutch taken down 2, Amidian catches a Fire Strike. I think this is an interesting iteration that they've taken the DPS over to try and force this hard hit scan duel, right? Oh, you're playing like Soldier Ashe? Fine. We'll play Widow Hanzo. We can one-tap you. But the downside is that they've now got the Illari and the Kiriko, who are just... They're not great supports for when you're wanting to play the Diva, and they're not hugely enabling the DPS either. So I almost feel like it's the support line now who's in a weird spot. They just don't have the sustain I'd like to see to make this composition really comfortable. Again, every time we see them, just pinning in.
A very deep Bob is going to force some of the backhand positioning, but headshots connect from Ame and Amidian, and so Citrus will go down. I think the win condition of this comp is not consistent. You can't make it happen nearly every time, but when it does, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You got shot in the head. Go next. I would like to see them swap, though. I do agree with you. I think there is a little bit of anti-synergy in this comp. I think that the Widow and the Hanzo want to be constantly changing directions, constantly repositioning, trying to get a one-shot off, and I think that the same really can't be said from the rest of them. Kind of want to be sticky on angles and annoying pressure. Those are the words we're looking to use for the rest of Imperium's composition. So I feel like there is maybe work to do. Maybe a Wrecking Ball, maybe a Sigma would be better on the tank line from the back line. As standard, the poke backline would be Baptiste Zenyatta, but there's some room for flexibility here perhaps, and and a headshot connect. Boomfy going down early once more, but will be traded. Saint to X as well, so no Ilari's in the field.
We saw them sneaking around in the back. They managed to get away, they saved. That Ash was just... The flanking Ash is not something you see very often. You could see Imperium trying to find them at the end of that last fight. They weren't able to actually find it. I'm not even seeing Zeb show up in the kill feed. Where is this Ash? They're just hidden. Are they back in spot? Do they make it back? Ah, there they are. Surprise! Okay, good. Sure.
Yeah.
No,
wait,
they didn't
Yllari
finish them!
Yllari healed him too. 120 HPS.
That feels a little bit of a misplay from Hutch. Just seems to assume that the Ash was dead, turns away to eat dynamite instead. Zeb now back up full, and it's Imperium who are having to retake positions. They don't get more defense. Captive Sun going to be coming out again from Saint is not maybe finding huge value, but it is going to be Flumpy who goes down regardless.
Saint is in the back line. This is so aggressive. Wait,
How
no,
do you keep ending up
it's Zeb who's in the back line. How does that happen?
I feel like Citrus has shown us something wacky, okay? Derpy's always pinning in, Zeb's now been in the back line for the last 2 straight fights. Kashir, I mean, can't really do a whole amount in that situation, so no fault on them, but surely you're not just going to give up second, right? Surely you're not just going to slowly try and flank in with various heroes until you all die.
I mean, Zeb just tried triple flanking onto Ame and was, I think told off for that one is a good way to put it. Slapped down and followed up with a second one. This Widowmaker on the high ground is putting out up to plenty of work, and Kashir with the Dragon Blade has plenty of work to do if he's trying to trade it back. It's 1 kill onto Saint 2X, but more than that we'll have to see, and not looking too likely as Citrus have to cower for just a little bit of HP. They will get it, and with the Captive Sun popped as well, doesn't even connect, but the pressure is still there either way. Flumpy back, respawned, and putting out the same amount of pressure as ever, and will get the final low. No more Widowmaker on the field for Imperium. And it looks like this is where the road will end. Kashir calls GG early, even though the fight's still going on, but I think it is all over. But the Crying, the Wrecking Ball, and the Kiriko, the last to be cleaned up, and Citrus take a pretty clean 2-0.
That was one absolutely wacky last fight. Watching that from his perspective of just like the Widowmaker observing the chaos, Derpy literally shattered nothing halfway through that, and we didn't even get to mention it. Just threw an Earth Shatter into a car. There was no one there, and it just we didn't even get to take heed of it because there was just so much chaos happening in the middle of all of that. That was an insane end for that, especially with Citrus investing literally every single ultimate except Kashir's, because they switched like 3 times and didn't have one built up. That was just... I was so all over the place, and I can't help but sympathize with them basically just being like, what, how?
Genuinely, I feel like I've just had a fever dream. What was that Numbani? Why was Zeb in the backline like 14 times? How does that even happen? How does an Ash get there? Like...
It was just wild, wet, and wacky the whole way through, and it's a shame to see that series end because honestly, that was just a lot of fun. It was just 2 teams having a lot of fun.
Okay, look, we've got more Citrus action coming up for you shortly. We're gonna go to another break. Me and Willotron back for the final match of the night. You guys don't want to miss it. We'll see you in a jiffy.
Atlas Fighters Standoff. Choose your fighter. Cammy Tracer. Choose your fighter. Sakura Kiriko. Choose your fighter. Bison Sigma. Check out all this and more at goatsreviveshop.com.
I want everybody up for this one. Many melodies. Bronx Riqueño. Check the tempo. Todo se levanta. Here comes the DJ.
Thank you.
Con sus manos, tremendos and shirtless, rocking por muchos años. Jamaican rude muchacho, totalmente macho, giving sabor latino, whether you're borracho or even sober, bailarán on the floor. Si trae attitude, ass will get thrown out the door. Don't even need a bouncer, DJ's a fighter from the calle. Beat you senseless, then get right back to the baile. Vamos DJ. DJ es su nombre, and this is job description. Mommy shaking their things like they got conniptions. Sus pantalones dicen maximum, cause he's living la vida to the fullest. When he fights, he's winning. Street brawling, celebridad, rey del partido. Inari dance hall, cada uno divertido. Always smiling, una sonrisa en su cara. DJ is spinning, reggaeton es la palabra. DJ, vamos DJ. Muévalo, gírelo, empújelo, respíralo. Golpéelo, espálelo, saturáralo.
Thank you, DJ.
Muévalo, gírelo, empújelo, respíralo, golpéelo, espálelo, saturáralo. Si ve cualquier persona in the seat, pull them out of it. The floor needs more crowds, altavoces are louder. Get up or get down or get crunk or get tipsy. When DJ rolls, watch the party get ripsy. Intente seguir, hands are faster than lightning, but not as fast as his piernas in a fight ring. Mad techniques on the techniques and on the streets. Fuerza in his feet and fuerza in his beats. Yo, hold up, somebody rolling. Ah, cuidado, somebody wanna test the dreads. Viene DJ, ready to rip fools to shreds. La izquierda, la derecha, the roundhouse, the flurry. Troublemaker sangriento, laid out in a hurry. Ain't nobody trying to disrupt the groove, get him out of here. Punk Scotty ejected. Back to the party atmosphere. Celebraciones en el discoteca. DJ dice salta hombres y muñecas. DJ. Vamos DJ. Muévalo, gírelo, empújelo, respíralo, golpéelo, espárelo, saturáralo.
Thank you, DJ.
Muévalo, gírelo, empújelo, respíralo, golpéelo, espárelo, saturáralo.
Thank you, DJ.
Now check the crowd. Muévalo, gírelo, empújelo, respíralo, golpéelo, espárelo, saturáralo. Muévalo, gírelo, empújelo, respíralo, golpéelo, espárelo, saturáralo. Vamos DJ, vamos DJ, vamos DJ, vamos DJ, vamos DJ, vamos DJ. Ya mismo, ya mismo.
Round one, fight!
if I'm not mistaken, it's the final game of the night. The double color caster cast is going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end between SMU Esports and Citrus. Citrus, of course, have been tearing an absolute tear through this group. SMU, the final opponents to try and give them a loss even. And, well, Reinhardt Brawl has been so strong so far. Will it continue?
I mean, I think we're joking about it a little bit, but it's probably unlikely that SMU Esports have the specific solution to the Reinhardt composition. When we've seen teams that SMU have since lost to struggle against the Rhine, I feel like they're probably not going to have something perhaps definitive to deal with this. But, you know, I'd love to be surprised at the same time with the current lineup that they're putting forward. I'm not necessarily, you know, looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, that's going to deal with Brawl really well. But, you know, I don't think we've seen any team actually play with the heroes that they said they were going to start on yet. So, whatever, right? I'm literally just going to discount this graphic entirely. They're just going to do whatever they want. It's also worth noting that I have been roasted for my pronunciation of Z-Man during the break, and I will henceforth be referring to them as Z for safety.
And no further comments should be made about that. Busan going to be where we open it up. There's going to be nothing stopping the continued play of Reinhardt. And I do feel like Reinhardt Symmetry is a comp that doesn't have like hard counters, you know. Certain comps get very rock, paper, scissors-y with kind of the matchups. But I think with this, it's kind of just not to be reductive. And I think Overwatch is a game where often you can be reductive about it. But essentially, you win by playing better than the other team. At the end of the day, it's kind of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair to say, and I think especially like we were talking when just going off of counters, one thing that I would always consider typically is like the Pharmacy, you know, a classic to play into the Reinhardt compositions that they just struggle with. But with Bastion now, with the Overwatch 2 move, making him move whilst in turret form, having that extra maneuverability with the Sim teleporter. I tried to say Sim before I said maneuverability, and that didn't work. The A36 tactical grenade as well, allowing for some of that, you know, high ground access without necessarily relying on a teleporter. The extra, have you seen the extra jump distance that's got now that the extra dampening effect hasn't been applied to the Bastion anymore? It's crazy. There was some tech that they were like, you have to be frame perfect for this, and now it's very easy to do it. So the Bastion, just a really good counter against the Pharmacy. There's really nothing they can do against that, especially when you're playing with the Baptiste that can just keep the Bastion alive. You can't even try and burst that hero down. Going over to Mecha Base, this is a nice start to see the Reinhardt on. If they can make it work here, they're probably going to be, you know, on their most comfortable sub-map of the three, Sanctuary and Downtown, a little bit less favorable for that Reinhardt. But Mecha Base, this is the map that I want to see them bring it out on, and I'm being teased with a Junkrat.
Yeah, I was going to say Derpy would look absolutely lost if he had to play Reinhardt on Sanctuary. The rotations would be absolutely demonic, so hopefully
I don't think
they're
Derpy could ever be
teasing for
lost.
that.
If the solution is press shift and hold M, like hold W, I think Derpy knows where they are.
Pin
I think it's
towards
always
the red. Pin towards
exactly.
the red. You can actually just get a bull to play Overwatch as
I
Reinhardt.
was just thinking that. Just have a fire the bullet. Oh dear.
Derpy is photographic evidence you aren't a
Wait,
bull.
hang on. Wait, no.
Wait, no, they're playing the Reinhardt.
We've wrong.
The Junkrat, sorry.
Scissors is on Ryan. Derpy is on Junkrat. Explain.
Wait, what?
We've been wrong this whole time.
No,
this
just
was the plan
explain.
all along.
Get them on the line. What is happening? It's
Derpy
SMU,
was
they're
the
playing
training
gold standard, but yeah, maybe.
This was their actual composition the whole time. See, look at this. Two picks
just
already for
dead.
the Junkrat. Hitting in with the Reinhardt. Derpy's been teaching this move in particular.
Derpy just kills two. I didn't even. Okay, cool. I guess the composition is going to play similarly, but instead of teleporting the Bastion around, you're just going to teleport your Reinhardt, I guess. Derpy doesn't need to take it nearly as much as a Bastion would have. But the Junkrat's going to sit there and spam damage in. It's such a strange comp to play.
They've got swaps for just two different iterations of Brawl, and I'm kind of hoping they don't play anything else this whole series.
This is amazing.
Zeb? Okay, Zeb just went AFK for a second, but that's fine.
Hey,
Just focusing on other things.
Yeah, exactly. Derpy on the high ground, spamming some pipes in, looking to connect something, and Honestly, just 2 connecting in a fight will be more than enough. Trades go 1 for 1, but this time Zeb comes up huge, a humongous double to keep it even. As the Zarya begins to cook, Derpy finds their first death on Junkrat, and there's a real chance here for SMU Esports to begin leveraging. We'll see if they end up doing so, as so far it's just TS Wiz on point, beaming down high energy and forcing past the amplification matrix. There's plenty of value. It drops so low, but there's no follow-up. Wait, there is. It's a right now pin.
Yeah, Z going down early that last fight on the Baptiste was making me think, okay, they're probably not in a favorable position. The window's there, but they're not going to be able to make use of it. The Baptiste able to come back just in time. Floofy invested in the beat, Zeb invested in the photon barrier, and Scissors following up with that pin shatter was so... It's such a heavy investment, right? If you can't turn it into a win here, you've basically just given SMU Esports the option to come back in at 80% like they are now, with ultimates available, and just get a free win. A tire pick here would be huge, because SMU are 85%. Okay, never mind. It's broken. Good response from SMU Esports. Sad to see. We were hoping that Derpy would be able to continue a reign of terror. Nevertheless, beat from Ducio to be able to try and open this up. As Citrus have kind of left the point, acknowledging that as they go into overtime, they don't actually need to be there if they can just kill everyone.
I mean, I'd say Derpy continued their reign of terror. A Junkrat trap converts onto one, the pipes onto another. It's gonna get 2 easy frags for Citrus, but the trades are coming back again. TS Wiz high charge, beaming down the Reinhardt, but the HP just isn't high enough.
You have to touch. Okay.
I mean, yeah, but it's all over but the crying. Realistically, just the Genji of Posu doesn't even manage to get the touch going. Citrus in control over Mecha Base, and that's kind of what we expected.
Watching TS Wiz there dancing around the point as the overtime started to tick down, it's like you realize you never flipped it, right? You realize that Citrus has held the objective this whole time. You never actually started ticking up. You can't afford to step off now. But yeah, as you say, just a little bit too much anyway. Even if that Zarya does manage to touch, it's just kind of stalling out the objective. Maybe they find a pick, maybe they don't. But it feels interesting to me. I mean, it has to be interesting, right, to see Citrus come out with a different player on tank, Scissors, who we've not seen previously in any of their matches today. Derpy, who has been just the Reinhardt who pins in, now playing alongside a wrecking ball of Scissors. Maybe this was the plan all along. We were talking about how the Reinhardt was going to struggle on Sanctuary. It's Sanctuary, and they're not playing the Reinhardt because Derpy's not on tank anymore. It seems like they got it solved.
This is a masterful solution to your problem of your composition being bad, which is actually changing your composition. You see actually some really nice roll-throughs from Scissor, just displacing TS Wiz and making it really quite hard for SMU to get in deep, but they just keep on holding W, and that means Z-Man goes down very, very early. An early advantage for SMU Esports, and one they look poised to continue to leverage effectively. It's a nice kill out the Lucio, but it will be traded back, and first control taken for SMU Esports.
Zeb will be getting a trade on the back of that, though, and Derpy still setting up on the Widow means that SMU can't really afford to feel comfortable here. Oh gosh, that Junker Queen already going low. This is going back on the Orisa means that there's so much point presence. With the Junker Queen dead and them already being down their Genji, it just means that they have no choice but to back away. Are they?
Kanye West, pressure,
Kanye West dead.
Yeah.
This is
so
just
the next
like
album's
Twitter.
coming soon.
We went different ways with that, but I think both of them worked pretty well.
Guys, Thunder 3 is never dropping. Okay, well, next time when we
nice
figure out how to make...
Lost by
Yeah,
Derpy.
it's really
Kanye
nice,
West
actually.
coming back. Donda 3 time.
Clutch. Yes!
This is what we're looking for.
Next time we make
keep
the same joke, we need to make sure that it's actually the same joke and not just at the same time. we need to get our psychic link going. Oh wait,
I mean, I feel like though the difference between us, right? We're both locked into the Matrix. We both understand that there's a joke to be made, and the fact that we make different ones means that there are twice as many jokes per sentence. I think this is really a listening masterclass for everyone joining us tonight. You get twice as many jokes per joke.
and they're all half as funny.
Imprecise from Derpy, just looking for any kind of value whatsoever. Scissors is going to be able to find Posu, the Genji. Caught out away from the rest of the team and were able to rotate out. It really feels like Citrus go in really hard, manage to find like 20% on the point, then crumble, SMU find 10%, and then Citrus just come back really hard again. It's like, I want to see SMU just hold the objective for a few seconds, maybe, instead of just holding S. But regardless, they're now coming up to a point where they've maybe got 2 fights left in them, and Citrus are once again playing Touch the Spawn Door challenge. We were expecting this from Derpy, not from Scissors perhaps, but realistically it feels like they've just taught each other. They just play as one another to.
Yeah, pushing in earlier with the spin. The blade is active for Poshu to beat as well to enable it. Only good for the one. That's a heavy spend to take care of that piece, but is the sustain for Citrus. We'll see if that's enough. Ooh, Flumphy living on a prayer and a hair, but will live all the same. And Z-Man has now respawned, so they're on a timer now when they need to leverage their picks. A lovely headshot means that there's going to be no more scissors and a real shot for SMU to flip the point. And there it is. They are still live here on Sanctuary.
Okay, but this is what we were talking about before. They've managed to take the point. They're going to get like 10%. They've had 2 picks off the back of it. Like, they can't even get the trade onto the Widow? No way! That's 3 down from SMU Esports. They just have to walk away again. Like, this is it. There's 99% of the objective, and they've no choice but to back because everyone's dead. It's just a Baptiste, a Window, and a Dream, and there's nothing left. This is... I mean... Like I said, I'm locked in. I'm seeing the future here, and it's just played out before me. SMU Esports, just I don't know. I feel like Citrus playing a little bit wacky. Maybe they just weren't expecting that many angles, but I can't break it down as anything other than Citrus split. They played crazy, and SMU Esports wasn't able to take advantage of that to find trades properly.
Dude,
like,
look at this from Zeb.
okay,
Look at this from Zeb.
setting up the car wash.
Oh, good lord.
That's classic Symmetra play.
And I want to remind the viewers the context of this clip. This is during overtime. This is just to catch the respawns. Zeb looks at like a 4v3 for his team and goes, yeah, I'm going to go hide by the spawn doors to kill people. Like, who does that? Who does that? Who in like competitive Overwatch decides to make that choice? Zeb does, and it's bloody working out for them.
It's so punishable too. Like the only way this works is when you play so split. Like I guarantee that Scissors was somewhere else entirely on the Orisa. Maybe there was a teammate within a 3-mile radius there, but Citrus was just playing all over the place. Like you can definitely take advantage of this to find equal trades at least, and yet somehow SMU Esports just caught completely off guard by what can only be described as wacky play, and it feels like they never really found their footing in trying to approach it from a perspective of like, well, let's just stick together and kill people, as opposed to like all trying to take the one-on-one ego duel and just getting picked off.
Just absolute chaos coming through. I just, honestly, it's been a long day for me. It's very, very late here on EU, about 1/2 midnight, and what I could really use right now is a little bit of energy, and that does kindly segue us onto our sponsor, Dubby Energy, and I believe we got the Atlas Fighters Standoff is brought to you by Dubby Energy, a nice sponsor for the tournament, and if you use code GOATSREVIVED, all capitals, at the checkout for 10% off, and could keep us awake throughout the final days of, or not final days, final hour or so of this tournament through the dying light of this group, and help us power through to the end of very likely watching Citrus sweep the group.
We've also got the sticker giveaway, which
Yeah,
I'm personally excited about. I know we mentioned it earlier, but like stickers, they're free. Just throw exclamation mark ticket in the Twitch chat. Get that going. Again, free stickers. You enter, you get free
Yeah, stickers are pretty sick.
I wish I could get them, but I'm busy doing this, so sadly I cannot. I feel like it would be unprofessional of me to pull up Twitch at this exact moment. But once again, shout out to W Energy. Well, also stickers. Obviously, Spectrion and I, both colorcasters and both in GMT, so we can probably do with a little bit of a pick-me-up here as we're getting into almost 1 a.m. for end time. But hey, that's what you get. Sign up for NA casts, you get NA times. We're used to it.
See, NA casters can sign up for EU times, and it will be like early morning, and they can like wake up as the sun rises, have a coffee. They're lovely, and us, it's maybe a little bit more ugly. Numbani, third time today. Hope you guys aren't getting sick of it. SMU seems to have the same thought as all the previous challenges of Citrus. But so far, it hasn't really been going the way, has it?
I'm kind of curious at this point as to like if we weren't seeing Citrus, which is basically just the Reinhardt role team, right? If we weren't seeing them play so much, would we be seeing not Numbani, right? Would we be seeing King's Row? Would we be seeing maybe the horror of Blizzard World?
I mean,
Or is it just that
probably
teams
not.
are recognizing like, hey, they're playing Ryan role, like let's just go to Numbani? Or is there something I'm missing and like Numbani is actually just really nice at the moment? Because I've seen a few teams wanting to play Numbani, teams that want to play like the Sigma or the Diva or the Winston. I've not really seen much Reinhardt. I've seen Ramatra for it. You know, Numbani maybe despite the hatred that gets leveled at it so frequently is actually just a pretty comfortable map. You know what? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's when I'm casting and when I'm scrimming, everyone's like, no, we hate Numbani. But actually, it's just an enjoyed and appreciated map. Maybe I'm around haters, Spectrion. Are you a hater?
I'm not a hater. I don't think I've ever
Okay.
heard somebody with a really negative word to say about Numbani.
I get it all the time. Maybe it's
think
just
you're an
me.
echo
Maybe I
chamber.
attract Numbani haters.
Maybe.
I bet if K-Wing was here, she'd be telling me that she hates Numbani.
Maybe. That being said, Caitlyn likes Orisa, so like realistically, you know. Some heroes are, you know, interesting, and some heroes lead to great games, and other heroes are Orisa. Is all I'm gonna say.
Oh dear. Well, fortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any Orisa at the moment. Sis is going to be sticking on the wrecking ball. We've seen apparently enough.
Derpy
of-
Junkrat. Derpy
Yeah.
Junkrat.
We've seen enough of the Derpy Reinhardt. It's just Junkrat from here on out, baby. That's it. Reinhardt and Junkrat. That's the exclusive thing from Derpy. And SMU Esports, going from what it seemed like their composition was going to be from the start, we're actually seeing our first Ana of the day, which is crazy to me considering the amount of Diva we've seen played. But for once, we're going to see the Ana Diva come out together. This is already at the spawn door
This
and
is
already
dead already?
I mean, this is fine. The ball's going to come back fast enough. It's not like SMU is going to be able to find huge traction off the back of that. But it is an unfortunate thing to see nonetheless. The
No,
ult
that has
charge
to be the
given over.
earliest death I've ever seen. That has to be the earliest death I've ever seen. What is that, first 5 seconds of the round? Okay, he's back anyway. Doesn't
Yeah, there
really
you go.
matter.
See, the wrecking ball literally just... Okay, don't die again here, though. That would be bad. It's going to be the Baptiste finding the soldier. SMU Esports, now that they are down one of their DPS, probably going to want to take a little bit of a chill pill. Okay, the Ilari's down too. Yeah, they just got to back off, take it a little easier. This is how you can play Wrecking Ball, because you, like, SMU has to be so fast to be able to take advantage of that initial death that there just wasn't really anything they could do. And Scissors now just gets to play ultra aggressive. We saw this from Derpy, and I said that maybe Derpy taught it to Scissors. Maybe Scissors was the master all along. This is... I feel like Derpy may have watched this insane gameplay and gone, yeah, sure, I can copy that, but Scissors here to really show us how it's done. Just die in 5 seconds, come back, lead to a fight win anyway. Okay, what is that? Just swing in! Okay, that's fine.
Citrus studied how to play the game using scientific studies as the most efficient way to break my mind and losing it. I just look at SMU. They've cracked the point open. It looks like the shenanigans from Citrus finally were too much. Scissors rolling back and
Flank
forth
teased.
on the ball. Yeah, exactly. Wait, no,
The window's gonna get popped, 3 dead.
Wait, wait, what are you doing? What is the plan? What
You're
is
back
the
to
plan?
Zedman. You're back to Zedman. You cannot miss that. It's Zedman. Scissors onto the
fighting.
Zarya, finds Kanye West. I love
It's
this.
still fighty on this off angle, and no one seems to want to commit to it. So I guess there's just a flex support duel going on here. Okay,
I mean,
they
you can
both
kind of just leave the
left.
BAP there. The BAP's just
Wait,
unable
no,
to help the team.
Did the BAP just demexed
No
the
shot.
Diva? There's no Diva. There's no tank for SMU Esports anymore. They got 1v1 by Z-Man on the Baptiste. He's on a flank window. Okay, he's dead.
I love this.
I don't
This
know.
is-
I genuinely don't know.
All I can say about this from an analysis side is that was a terrible play and a complete waste. However,
Yeah,
I will go back to
absolutely.
calling you Z because you've earned my respect by being able to solo the Diva.
Yeah, the Zarya, sorry, from Scissors comes up clutch on the flank as well for more than a couple of kills. Tries to beam down the Diva. Of course, defense matches can't stop the beam, but the focus fire is there in the end, and SMU Esports are able to get some more progress here. Very early time from Derpy. TP onto the head of the soldier. Kanye West getting ripped hard, a little bit rough there. And So honestly, it's such a good spot for Citrus now. You have the early pick. You're in a position where you can leverage high ground effectively. Should be a nice long hold through second for them, unless Jimmy has something to say. They bomb early, but taken down earlier is the Diva. And yeah, should all be over here.
I feel a little bit like Citrus are taking the silly juice. They're kind of just... We're talking about like high ground, the way they can strategize around Riptire and things, but it kind of feels like they're just taking fights, assuming that they're going to have the more favorable trades. It feels like they're playing an exclusively mechanical game here. Like, what is... What?
Yeah, just running at them.
The thing is that SMU Esports have the complete opportunity here to just flip this and punish them for trying to play what I can only describe as silly watch. Like, they've now got the Mercy to enable the Ashe more effectively. The teleport is going to be able to come in for maybe touch, but you're just... Okay, like, they can't just keep trying to take these mechanicals, but Tushitom walks away from their own team with the nano boost still available and just dies, so Citrus are probably going to be able to start stabilizing unless they see more picks come back. The Mercy finds the res, always a thing that I tend to forget about when Mercy's brought onto the field. The Ana now brought back in. The nano boost maybe not even going to be invested. Decided that it's worth it in the end. Goes onto the Diva, who manages to find the Zarya, and that is going to be second point capped with about 2 minutes left on the clock. The Citrus, I appreciate the silly juice, alright? I appreciate the goofy watch, but you gotta acknowledge that maybe there's time to be like, okay, we shouldn't just walk into them and hope that we can shoot faster somehow than they can. Like, no, everyone's on a relatively equal footing if you just walk into them.
Oh my god, a lovely long range mine. So the Junkrat shenanigans continue, and yeah, with the wall invested as well, SMU just have to back up. They do have plenty of time here.
It's
3 minutes and change.
I completely misread that.
Yeah, us casters are not good at much other than Overwatch, are we?
You know, numbers confusing. Words confusing.
Riptide from Derpy actually broken early. That's actually really nice. The attempts to TP here have been very creative, really interesting to watch, but feels like not successful more often than not. Early Kitsune Rush actually, and the Dink as well. Wait, there's a flanking buys from Kanye West. Getting two
so much
actually.
flanking.
Yeah, I didn't know a soldier could get there. I guess he ran through the high ground and dropped into the backline.
Still pushing the cart, by the way, even as Citrus are trying to find these little picks. They do manage to find Twist at the end there, but as you're basically leaving the... Did they just try and solo grab?
He does not grab a singular person.
Okay. Posse
kills two. Okay. I'm not really sure how that happened. Wasn't on the screen, unfortunately.
Citrus, I need you to dial it in. I need you to dial it back, alright? Rein it in. Focus up. Okay? I appreciate that you can drop this map, but I'd rather not see it happen. Nice little sleep there.
Yeah, but now the soldier has access on to the Ana. Flumpy goes so low, but the bubble, the nade, everything is there to get them out, and even so it won't happen. SMU Esports break the hold, and Citrus might have a chance to recontest, but they most definitely don't have another fight, and Derpy just donating their lives to Kanye West's score.
Nice grab from Twist there just to make sure that the kill onto the Ana was confirmed. See, now dead as well as Flumpy. They finally start coming back, but there's really not much that Citrus can do at this stage other than just hope that they're fine. Kitsune Rush and Nano Boost coming out from the side of SMU Esports, but they barely even get to make use of them before Citrus have their last little cough. Third point. A minute 18 on the clock for SMU Esports. This is a good look for them. I mean, I kind of want to say that this is entirely on SMU, but I want to say it's like 60% Citrus just playing wacky. They seem to have decided that taking the weird fights is the way forward. If they end up not really being able to break open first here, they do put themselves in a dangerous position. As previously, it's a first to two. Whilst you are 1-0 up at the moment, it's just as easy to lose one map and then the second map when it's a little bit more even. Like, you want to be comfortable, right? And there's not really any comfort in a first to two series. Best of threes are always just down to the wire. And it's very rare to see them go to a 2-1. It's much more frequent to just see some of that 2 Overwatch. So for Citrus, I would rather see them just stick with comfortable, which is why I'm happy to see Scissors back on the Reinhardt, Derpy onto the Bastion. No more wacky, okay? Let's just play this honest. Let's play honest.
I'm not sure this is honest.
It's honest to them.
Well, it's more honest than Junkrat. But like, it's a sliding scale, you know. This is definitely more towards the scumbag end of it.
I feel like there's a whole conversation about how honest Junkrat is in particular. I feel like we could really get into the nitty-gritty of that, but we'll probably have to do that another time. As we start the attack here for Citrus, this opening fight for them is going to be key, because as we saw against Timeless Obsidian, if they can get that fast entry, 2 ticks, right, it's going to put them in a really comfortable position, but they're playing into this same kind of Diva Ashe that we saw previously. So, a repeat of before, are they going to be able to improve on it? Up onto the high ground immediately for the Reinhardt.
Fence Matrix being burned through plenty of damage, otherwise would have been dealt there by Derpy on the Bastion, and yet this time it's Scissors to go down early. A rough scenario here for Citrus. They need to decide whether they want to recommit or they want to wait for their Reinhardt and use the TP to let them rejoin. Of course, SMU with his double poke DPS, they really don't have a way to crack open any hole they decide to go, and an early pick comes through as they drop down onto the Ashe. It's 4-4. Ryan going to be back, of course, fast, so a big advantage here for Citrus as Scissors begins to pin back another TP, this time pressuring Kanye West on the Tourbillon, who has no choice but to die. Derpy, 18 HP, but still capable of doing all the damage in the world, and it isn't even forced to. It's a quick cap, actually, of the first point, only losing the 1, and the stagger onto the Ana 2 can be brutal.
They're just making this last so long. Tushitom eventually dies, but isn't even going to respawn before first point is capped. That was an unfortunate stag for the Ana. You almost just want to die quick there, like instead of constantly walking away. Nice little robot from Derpy. That was actually a really smart play from Citrus when they teleported out with just the 4 of them without the Reinhardt. They understood that if they left Scissors to just come back, it was entirely possible that SMU Esports could just cut off the Rhine again and send them right back into the spawn room, while still being able to contest the point in the high ground at the same time. So taking the initiative on them and finding those picks was really nice. No Molten Core this time. Kanye West immediately pinned in, but they are going to trade Zeb.
That was a beautiful kill. The TP into the predictive pin to take care of Kanye West. There's one way of shutting down the Tourbillon. The Nano Boost is there for the Ana, investing straight onto TS Wiz. We'll see if the Diva manages to find the value, but instead it's the Pulse Bomb from Posu who comes up clutch. And Citrus should be sent back to spawn, and SMU Esports can really begin to whittle down that absolutely gargantuan time bank they had accrued.
This is, yeah, I mean, they went into it with 5 minutes, starting to find themselves a little bit reduced now. Still more ults. This is the kind of meta play that I don't hugely like to see, where you're just like, ah, well, you know, we're kind of on the tail end of that fight, let's just throw in some stuff. Artillery Strike is one of those ultimates that you can just do that with, but I can't help but feel like you could use that to, I don't know, force the Ana, right? Force some kind of cooldowns there, some kind of Suzu, some repositioning, whatever you want. Instead, it's going to be Z who's forced. Window comes out, but finds not really much value. Instead, it's going to be the Baptiste who dies. Kanye West once again on the Soldier 76 flank. Also when the Tracer went down just a little bit too low, played the cooldowns a little bit too tight, but already has another Pulse Bomb, and ultimately comes back pretty fast, but we haven't seen a huge amount of lately. That was some derpy Reinhardt play from Scissors. A hard int into a shatter onto one person that doesn't die is exactly what I love to see. It's just going to be this Soldier dueling it out now with Z and Flumpy. Answer now from Derpy to try and make it a little bit more pokey. Scissors on the Sigma. This is not a look we've seen from them. Oh,
Flumpy on the Lucio is a little bit strange here, I have to say. Not entirely sure what value that Citrus believe the pick brings. I guess trying to charge up to the beat and stopping is my guess. But as of now, it's going to be a little bit of a disjointed comp. Just going to have to hope that the individuals are enough to overcome it.
nice.
That's a lovely way to start, isn't it? No Tracer, Posu going down, and SMU Esports really do have to struggle. They're going to have to claw back a pick, and that's really not what you love to see either. They're just forced to disengage and or die on the point, I guess. It's, ooh, big stagger coming through onto TS Wiz.
Posu in particular has been a bit of an unsung hero thus far on the Tracer. Really has been finding a lot of the picks that is making Citrus's attack just a little bit beating us off, Visor. when you're just able to have the Tracer go in and find these kills at the start of each, it's so beneficial. We've seen some nice little outplays predicting what Poss is going to be doing.
Kanye West. They're getting rolled. Zeb's flanking with the overclock, and they're doing so much pressure. It's literally at their spawn and still finding value. This is
I give
such
too
an
much
aggressive
attention to the
move.
enemy. Zeb was mad that I decided to highlight Posu for even a second. And decided
It
instead,
just sprints at them.
five,
Oh,
all
they're dying in
five,
spawn.
even in the spawn room, Zeb
He's
managed to find all
literally
five.
in spawn, and Kanye
Alrighty.
West is still taking L's.
Z on the flank.
Wait,
once
no,
again,
oh no,
flank
he's
teased.
got window. He's got the window. Wait, and they're using Flumpy to bait. They pop the window now. It does the recall out of Posu at
I
least.
don't think it finds anything. Okay,
No,
no,
it
Posu
doesn't.
goes back in for more. Posu
Wait,
has
no,
to go
okay.
back in for another attack. Okay. Sojourn versus Sigma Duel with Scissors only at 67 health. The only damage taken there, I think, from the splash damage of their own accretion, hyperspheres. And it is going to be Citrus rolling towards the end of third point. I believe at the moment they have a slightly long time bank than SMU Esports, but SMU are going to go to clean up. Posu comes back in, finds onto the Hanzo. The Sigma's already been taken out. So yeah, they will be able to stabilize here. Pulse Bomb back and ready again, but both teams invested pretty heavily. Still more swaps coming through. We mentioned the Lucio from the side of Citrus maybe being a question mark, but it seems like they are going to be committing to it as SMU brings on a Lucio of their own to match.
Torbjorn as well. Gonna be a choice. A lovely stick means that Zeb's
That
down
was
early.
gorgeous.
I mean, that just ruins your push. Absolutely humongous plays. Posu, you mentioned, a player to watch and showing absolutely why they're 2 kills, and Citrus sent straight back to spawn.
It's really interesting to see how these two teams have iterated throughout the course of Numbani in the way that they're playing their compositions. Derpy now on the Torbjorn, we're seeing a Sojourn mirror, right? The Baptiste Lucio and the Ana Lucio are kind of staples, but everything else has changed. Even Twist now coming back on the Doomfist, presumably just to make sure that they touched in time, but committing to it regardless, though they probably had a chance to switch. This is it's just nice to see teams try and mix things up a little bit. See if they can find the solution to what I was being put forward. Posu on the Widow now as well is still finding picks, but they forget the point. Not able to get out of spawn, all of them having to fall back to deal with the sheer aggression that Citrus were putting forward, means that they are going to be finishing out third point. 1 minute 10 to 1 minute 18. Two relatively even time banks here. Perhaps not expected from these two teams when we were going into Numbani. Usually you'd expect a clear winner, especially considering the limited pools that we've seen from the Citrus team in particular. But it seems as though they're responding okay to each other. It's really fun to watch.
I mean, yeah, 8 seconds the difference, but one team is consistently trying to get flanking Baptiste kills and the other one isn't, so I think it kind of shows exactly what mindsets SMU and Citrus are kind of bringing to this particular match. I could be proven wrong, but it does kind of feel like if they wanted, Citrus could kind of pull the win out at any time and just kind of extending it for entertainment.
I mean,
But,
I'd rather not believe it's BM to that nature, but I think there is a certain element of playing for fun that has perhaps been introduced here, as opposed to the previous
They are
maps.
diving the backline with Ash.
Okay, but that was because of an extended stagger that just never got followed up. Okay, that's not Citrus's fault. That's just the Ash not dying. And you know what? The Ash shouldn't die. Why would you want that?
They used the Lucio to bait for a flanking Baptiste with window.
And then it
Which is
worked.
actually pretty cool.
And it
did work.
succeeded.
It was sick. They also got the speedrun for fastest death just ever, as far as I can tell. Like,
Nice
but it's
little
fine.
scouting here from Kanye West and the Sombra to make sure that they know what the composition Citrus is running. Going into their attack, obviously with the shorter time bank, they're going to be on attack for the second round in a row. So this is rolling out on the Zarya is perhaps a different look than we're used to for them. But I think it makes sense if you're wanting to just cap first. You're just with a minute each. As long as you can win first, you're usually putting yourself in a much more comfortable position. And the Zarya is just safe. We can see the bubbles here really enabling Zeb on the Bastion to just chunk in an insane amount of damage. The D.Va D-Mech pretty late into this fight as well means that realistically SMU Esports probably aren't going to be able to stop them from capping out first. Posu doing a little bit of a contest there, but that is going to be that. And nightmarish scenario for SMU Esports. We were mentioning maybe Citrus could just turn it on and win this anytime they want. It feels like, yeah, that's maybe happening. More than a minute, I think, was still... more than a minute. More than overtime, at least, before first was capped, means that Citrus can just keep walking. They don't really mind. Overtime now finally triggered. Zeb finds Kanye West on the tail end of it. Pulse Bomb from Posu is huge! Takes out both the Zarya and the Lucio. Unfortunate from Fluky to just wall ride into the Zarya there, but all the while the cart is still contested and still pushing. Any distance at all is beneficial for Citrus because there is just permanent overtime.
It's close spawns, but they are OT, so they're going to be a little bit slower, but the killer instinct maybe is a little bit too slow from SMU Esports, so the respawns are here in time, and the DPS are just allowed to work their magic. Derpy and Zeb tearing SMU Esports to shreds, and more progress is going to be garnered on the cart. Remember, over time spawns, that's going to mean that it's going to be so long before SMU Esports can be in position to touch the cart again. Should be able to touch it before they close out second, but that's a fight you're just missing out on. And so instantly, for your own round, you're thinking about that. And a minute 18 seconds, will that be enough? Do you really have the metal to contest it? That is the thoughts that are going to be going through the players' minds right now. But Kanye West does have the EMP. The Kiriko's down, sorry.
Juicio's already taken out. The EMP comes through, but there's no nano boost available. The Kitsune Rush would have been there if the Kiriko was still alive. The Kiriko is not. Citrus are still the ones finding the kills in spite of the EMP. Both the Diva and the Sombra taken out of this fight relatively early. Z on the pack, flanking with this. Oh, sorry, the Tracer fighting on the flank with Z. Ooh, Pulse Bomb just goes slightly wide. I feel like there was a hesitation there from Floopy to maybe pull the sound barrier. A consideration of do we just keep the Baptiste alive. Taya is going to be taken out early, that's what you want to see. Derpy not getting a free kill on this occasion. Artillery Strike as well, not finding anything. So 2 ultimates from the DPS line of Citrus now gone, and the Kitsune Rush is probably going to be the closing here. Soundbarrier comes out, but I'd be surprised if SMU Esports weren't able to close this.
Just low value off of the ultimates and feeding the Diva at the end of things. TS Wiz gets a 3-piece to close it out, but I mean, you look at that progress.
Absolutely insane distance.
Yeah,
like that's
total task for SMU to pull it out. And remember, they need to, else this game will be over. Citrus will have swept the group, only dropping what, a single map.
I mean, this is the kind of attack that we were wanting to see Citrus put forward, right? And you know, I feel like they were maybe having a little bit too much fun, and they've decided, okay, yeah, we just want to win this one. Able to get all the way to not completing, but at least playing into Numbani third with only a minute to start the round with is absolutely insane. That's just a show of force more so than anything else, and I would be very surprised indeed if SMU Esports were able to match that. I don't want to pull a Jake and just call this map early, but if you're SMU Esports, you are not you're not looking at this right now and thinking, oh yeah, we're in a pretty good position. You're in danger, and if you're not going like, oh well, GG go next, you are very worried indeed. We can see Twiz just like cycling between the tanks, really unsure of what to go for. Posu onto the Echo, maybe instead of the Tracer. Kanye West starting on the Sim, maybe won't stick to it though.
Citrus know exactly what they're going for, and it's a spawn hold. They're hiding in the cafe, hoping that SMU won't check this, and there's a real likelihood that they don't. Yep, straight spawn camping. Citrus is literally touching the spawn doors, anti-naded, and just eating the Diva damage. But SMU Esports, they have their work cut out for them. And this is going to burn so much time, even if they die. Even if they die, it's fine. You've just burnt time off the bank when you're working with a minute. And it is pretty rough. I will say, the execution of the spawn hold, maybe not picture perfect from Citrus. Would have liked them to try and get the flank.
Yeah. Just went a little bit fast. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, it's fine. They can get the touchback in. This is actually going over to the Wrecking Ball, and we're going to see Farah as well. So they've got the time and the space to be able to find the cap here, obviously outside of the overtime spawns. But SMU Esports have adjusted already with their composition, going over to the Orisa, sticking on the Echo, but having the Casty now is going to put a lot of pressure on them. Okay, never mind. Casty dead. Yeah, you were kind of hoping that Casty would stay alive, but they're just, again, it feels like Citrus is playing the mechanical game, trusting that they can find the 1v1 picks, and it's going in their favor. 3 HP for Afara is fine if you've not got anyone who can finish her off, and SMU Esports back in spawn, they do not have the time to be making these kinds of errors. Nevertheless, though, they are stuck. Less than 10 seconds remaining now, and this is once again touching the spawn doors. I don't know if they're even going to have a chance to contest this.
They're trying. They really are trying, but
they've got the touch.
Overtime will come through at least. Wrecking Ball here to contest it, but any progress they garner here will be entirely cosmetic unless they get the fight win as well. A nice attempt from TS Wiz to try and get a boop off the map, but won't contest at least many players alive for SMU Esports. Citrus here just trying to close it out. The Kitsune Rush is going to make that just a little bit harder. Ground Fire actually from Durfee coming through. Plenty of damage, but not an elimination until Tushi Tom runs into the rockets of the Rocket Queen. Z-Man as well taking care of the Doomfist, so the kills all going in the favor of Citrus. We mentioned earlier the mechanical differential, and that's what we're seeing here. Okay, that's maybe not what we're seeing there. But it's what we're seeing overall. Scissors is still griefing, actually.
Scissors committed to trolling and did not give it up, and for that I can give them respect. Posu absolutely putting their foot down and saying, "Nuh-uh, you have to still respect us. We are still going to make this work." I was thinking on the side of Citrus, like, you don't mind if they cap first because they've still got to keep the cart pushing. But now SMU Esports, they've pushed around first corner and they're in the position that Citrus was in before, realistically.
Where is Zeb going?
Lumpy just found Kanye West. Somehow Zeb once again on this long flank. SMU Esports, they don't want to let this slip away from them now that they've got the opportunity. A crazy barrage from Derpy that probably should have resulted in death. This is wacky, okay? It feels like there's the team that's really giving it their all versus the team that's trying to BM. They walked off the card. They walked off the card. Okay. Alright. Fair enough. You know, an absolute masterclass from Posu, I have to say it. Just to really try and force this to be as competitive as possible, but I was just watching the Flora and I was like, they can't kill the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh's just stood on the floor. They can't kill her. That's the kind of point where you're like, okay, it's Joe. It's Joe. How else could that end but with forgetting to touch the payload? Okay, bye. It's understandable. Honestly, I can't blame you. Yeah, that was Citrus versus SMU Esports. Our last match of the day.
What a way
Welcome
to close
back.
it out. What a way to close it out. What a way to close out a series. They full on walk off the point.
We were blessed. There were no other C9s or hints of them up until this point for the entirety of today. Okay? How else could such a map end other than watching Scissors just shoot a wall for like 10 seconds straight as their team dies around them, and then SMU Esports just walking off the payload? How else could it go?
What a way to close it out. I'm actually speechless. That being said, it was a brilliant run from Citrus. They went, I believe, 6-1 on the day, so they'll definitely be topping out their group here. And I think they showed the ability to really bring the hurt when they needed to, when they're tested, but they also showed the ability to have a little bit of fun. Of that, I can tip my hats to them. SMU Esports, yeah, we mentioned Posu, who really did put his best foot forward, but unfortunately, not enough to get his team the victory. Yeah.
It is a shame to just see, like, Posu in particular put up such... Because there was so many opening picks, so many, like, double pulse bomb... Like, I think there was at least two double pulses, all right, going in, or at least going in, finding a pick, and then also finding a pulse bomb. And it's just... When you've got this one player who you know is really going for it that hard, and then there's just... The obstacle that they're going up to is insurmountable. It's Sisyphean, right? It's a David versus Goliath, but there's no favor for them this time, and it's such a shame. But do you know what's not a shame? Do you know what I'm still excited about and haven't stopped thinking about this whole time?
Tickets.
Free stickers. Free stickers that you could get. Like, it's cool. Have you seen the graphics for this tournament? It was insane. I was talking with Crow ahead of time, and they were basically like, yeah, I'm doing everything myself. And I was like, well, we can get Revolution Gaming. You can do it. I was like, well, look at my graphics. And they're all just, like, crazy. For one person who's just like, yeah, I'm just doing this. Just having a bit of fun. I was like, oh my god. This is great. If I could get some of these stickers, I would. Sadly, I've got to worry about food at the moment. But, you know, maybe there's a giveaway. Maybe I can hop in now, actually. Can you just take over for a sec?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's not much to say here. We're going to head off for a quick break, and after that, we do have an interview with the winners, Citrus Gaming. We'll have one of them on to speak about how they ran, but nothing more for us to say. We'll see you guys in just a hot second for the interview.
Atlas Fighters Standoff. Choose your fighter. Tammy Tracer. Choose your fighter. Sakura Kirito. Choose your fighter. Bison Sigma. Check out all this and more at goatsreviveshop.com.
Hello and welcome back. We are here with an interview with, of course, what is only industry standard, literally the entirety of Citrus. Every single member is in this voice chat. It is a little bit chaotic, but that's fine. Hello, literally every single member of Citrus. How are you all feeling after today's matches?
I'm so tired.
I'm tired. I'm too tired.
So tired.
Good.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start off the questioning, I guess. Then, obviously, you guys are playing mainly Reinhardt Bash, and you're TPing across the map. Derpy, on the last match, you were obviously playing Junkrat for most of that. Is that a strat?
Yeah.
Is that just BM? Like, talk me through that.
Scissors is our main tank player, but he had classes the first two matches, so we had to make do with what we had, and thankfully we won the first two matches and had our star player in on tank on the last match and came out victorious with me on Junkrat.
Okay, that's fair enough. But even so, I'm guessing the kind of Reinhardt sim is like your bread and butter. I'm assuming because you still went towards very similar things on the last.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is that a comp that you guys have spent plenty of time like theory crafting with all the Symmetra TPs? You kind of just winging it as you go.
Me and Kosh.
We have like zero synergy. We have to like make it on the fly, to be honest.
So he's lying. Okay,
I'm
so
not lying. That's because I'm not lying.
oh yeah. We play on the sim collegiate team, and I'm the Ryan player, and he's the sim player, and we play this comp for like 30 hours a week.
Yeah, we
So
argue every day for 30 hours.
We just know. Yeah. We just teleport.
That's it? Just teleport?
Yeah.
Yep.
With that, really.
That's
Yeah, either teleport or die.
Well, I mean, we've got you all here. It would be a shame to not take advantage of that. Is there anything that all of you individually or all of you collectively would like to say? You've got the stage. The show is yours.
Shout out.
Bro.
Shout out my mom. Shout out my
I love
dad,
my
shout out
team.
my
I'm
grandma,
so
shout out
happy
my
I get to
grandma.
play with these guys.
Citrus
again.
reunion.
I'm so happy. I get to
GG.
play
I'm just a
with
sub.
these
I'm
guys.
just a sub. I'm just a sub. I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be. But yeah.
Oh,
Well, I hope the viewers at home caught all of that because that was definitely a lot of positive sentiment.
Yep.
Thanks all of Citrus for being here for the interview, and good luck for your games in the rest of the tournament. If it goes anything like this group stage, then you should have a clean birth to victory.
quickly though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so
Thank you.
excited.
Thank
you.
I was
Shout
promised
out
being
Tower
roasted
76.
by Zed. Zedman, you promised to roast me and didn't happen once. I'm not calling you Z anymore.
Oh.
It's Zedman.
Oh, oh,
I think that I don't know what she's talking about. I think this is fake.
I've got the receipts. You want me to pull them
What?
up?
Now,
You and me.
We did, obviously,
After
we
this.
Oh, by the
We
way,
did
Flippy's
have-
birthday. Sorry, I'll show you this.
Happy birthday, Flippy. Oh my
Can we sing happy
god.
birthday?
Yeah. Alright. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Flippy.
Cha, cha, cha.
Cha.
Happy
birthday
to you.
Oh my god.
And
Thank
congratulations
you
to
guys
Zeb
so
for winning
much.
the giveaway.
Yeah.
Oh my
Thank
god,
you. This is
yay.
big.
Let's go.
Yo,
Yay.
Oh,
Nice.
this has been a joy.
We're gonna get these kids out of here so we can wrap up now.
I'm 20, bro.
No.
Yeah.
I'm 20.
21. Hey,
Not a kid, bro.
Mason, we're getting
I'm
lit
12.
tonight. We're getting lit tonight.
We aren't, bro. We can't.
Yeah, you're right. We're not.
All right. Thanks for the interview, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course.
Thank
Thank
you.
Whoa.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care and congratulations.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
That was the entire roster of Citrus with possibly my favorite interview I've ever gotten to do. That was enjoyable indeed, but I'm afraid I believe that is the end of us here today. So, someone has come back. Ah, it's fine. I thought another member of Citrus had rejoined the voice call. No, we're okay. The chaos has ended. And so is our stream for now. We will be rejoining you tomorrow, though not Spectron and I, sadly. The Doublecaster EU duo comes to an end for the Atlas Fighters Standoff. Good
Until we're
night,
cool
take
again.
care. Until we...
Got the bat signal.
I've been reminded 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So same time as today, I believe, bar any delays or other technical difficulties that may arise. We will see you then. Take care.
Wait, hold on, wait. We gotta read the voice call. Send this. Send them over. We're sending them over. We still got Imperium versus Timeless Obsidian going on right now, so let's send the crowd over to him.
B stream. And
All right.
versus Time is Superior. Sounds like good fun. Take it, give it a gander.
Definition of an uppercut, never gonna give a fuck. I'm the only moment so potent that you can never crush. I am the reason that everybody believes that you build a champion out of the passion you feed into a rush. I live in the clutch till everybody erupts, and anyone here to stop me is never gonna be enough. I'll deconstruct any obstacle trying to interrupt my induction till they combust and the hype will just self-destruct. And I'm already on my own, but I've been here for it all. Farther you wanna take it, the more they want you to fall. But I'ma keep my resolve and obliterate every wall they install to a fault and let all my fears dissolve and evolve. And I'ma live in the streets over every beat I defeat and compete against the impossibles just to show my belief with only technique. Till I advance, I'ma battle the whole world at the finish, and y'all gonna know who I am. Moving sure to you.